We open on this world with a warning. This is a place where the strong drink blood and the weak spill it. Deep in a glowing cave, skeletons litter the ground, and something in the dark catches a scent. It growls out, "There's prey over there." A hooded figure draws a bow in the dark, his hand trembling as he looses an arrow with everything he's got, and the shot brings the beast down, making him the hunter who just saved them all. An old man thanks the young count for the kill, grateful to live to hunt another day. But before the shot lands, the mood breaks, because an older man is complaining. His arrow snapped, so he grumbles the bow's too old. Our boy fires back that it's brand new, he just bought it. The old man won't drop it. He tells Johan he knew this hunting thing was a mistake the second he heard it, that a noble like him should have picked up swordsmanship instead. Johan just goes quiet, lets it slide, and says it's nothing. Let's move to another spot. In his first life, title card. To survive. And here's who our hero actually is. In his past life, he was a modern man who died in an accident, and woke up reincarnated in this brutal medieval world. The bearded man calls out, "Lord Johan, wait, something's wrong up ahead." The kid looks and sees them, wolves, whining and circling in the distance. He draws his weapon and sets his stance. Then he clocks what the wolves were feeding on, a pile of bones and mangled remains under dead trees. And Johan thinks to himself that this world he got reborn into is way too realistic. The bearded man recoils, calling it gruesome, and asks if the body was someone from their village. Our boy can't tell, but he knows one thing for certain. His fist clenches. To not end up as prey in an era like this, he needs one thing above all, and his eyes light up with golden dollar signs as he blurts it out: money. Because early on he crouched in the forest waiting for a status window to pop up. No cheat, no system, nothing. So he threw the whole hero fantasy out and changed his goal to cold hard cash. With money he figures he can leave this miserable estate and do whatever he wants. Become a merchant or even a free farmer. Anything but a disposable bastard noble. Right on cue, the bearded man points and calls him over, offering something that could be Johan's first step toward the money he needs. The kid leans in to see what he's holding, and the second he gets a look, his face lights up. Jackpot. Johan and the bearded hunter both freeze because they're holding the exact same thing, and the man's whole face drops. He stammers, "Wait, don't tell me," right as something lunges out of the trees. Our boy grabs for a weapon overhead as the beast comes down on them. The bearded man screams for help while a wolf tears in, blood everywhere. The two of them swing back at it, but this isn't one wolf, it's a whole pack closing in with claws bared. Then it clicks who they're really fighting over. Robert's little daughter is out here, crying in the middle of it, and Robert himself is losing his mind over why a child is on this hillside at all. There are too many wolves. Robert says the two of them can't hold, they should fall back and bring more men. The kid refuses. He tells Joseph to grab the girl and run. He'll pull the whole pack onto himself. A noble throwing himself out as bait for one commoner girl, and Robert can't believe what he's watching. But someone else is watching too, and he's not seeing danger, he's counting money. 10 wolves minimum, and each pelt is coin. He grins and charges in, yelling for his money bags to just wait for him. He hits the biggest wolf full speed, but the beast barely flinches. And now his easy payday has become a fight for his life, as it turns and roars at him. And here the world reminds everyone how ugly it really is. The wolf looms up in the dark and unloads raw energy from its claws, slash after slash, no ordinary animal. It winds up one massive strike, and the would-be pelt hunter has just enough time to realize his gold mine is about to gut him. The blow lands and drives him back, the beast raking through him again and again until the whole hillside goes red. Meanwhile, at the same time, far off in Valtrodon village, the Eitz family inspection procession rolls in through the gates. The villagers shrink back as this funeral procession passes, mourning someone whose death has shaken the whole family. And up front, a noble rides in with tears streaming down his bearded face, something already very wrong before he's even arrived. Up front rides the family's eldest son, dressed formal and looking troubled by something. Beside him rolls in the lord of the house, the man in charge. Gessen scans the procession and frowns. Johan, the bastard son, is nowhere in sight, and that already sours his mood. Then the procession reaches the village gate, and everyone stops cold. Huge haystacks are piled up right at the entrance, blocking the road. Gessen demands to know what this mess is. He rides closer, and the hay isn't just hay. Something is buried in it, and it starts to move. A glowing maw full of teeth tears up out of the pile. Golden claws rake out of the ground, slashing at anyone close. A villager stumbles back, screaming, "What on earth is this?" The creatures pounce, biting and pinning him down, red eyes snarling in the dark. Then someone strikes back and knocks the beast off, saving the pinned man from being torn apart. And the fighter is smiling even as a pack of monsters snaps at him from every side, refusing to become their prey. The beasts rush him all at once. He plants his feet and thinks the same cold rule that runs everything here. To not become prey in this era, you spill the blood first. He builds power in one raised hand, then unloads it. A wave of force tears clean through the pack. When it clears, he's standing in a pile of dead beasts. And even he can't believe it. No way, what on earth is this? The surviving beasts don't run. They gather around him and go quiet, like they've picked a new boss. He straightens up, smiling, that strange power still humming off him. In his first life so back up, this is Johan, a modern man who died in an accident and woke up in this brutal medieval world with no cheat and no system. His first lesson landed fast. Life here wasn't going to be easy. His own half-brothers spit on him, screaming, "Die, you bastard! How dare you act up when you don't even have a mother?" A grown Eitz-man towers over him, threatening to stomp him into the ground if he steps out of line again, face cold and mean. So Johan learned the rule of his new life early. The only person he could ever trust was himself. And somewhere out in the marsh marshland, an old man leads a band of armed men across the mud, already moving toward whatever comes next. But Johan doesn't just sit in the misery. His head is a trove of stuff this world has never seen, and he starts using it. Modern high-intensity training, drilled off exercise physiology, hammered into this weak borrowed body every single day. An elder catches him and gapes. Why is Lord Johan eating scraps, oats, and cabbage and beans? Our boy just waves him off. This is a balanced superfood plan, he says, designed by science the old man's never heard of. So he trains day after day, forcing this weak borrowed body to grow stronger. Punch after punch lands harder as the drilling slowly turns his frail frame into something that can actually fight. Then one strike lands with everything he has, and the power just keeps surging past what he expected. His fist tears the ground apart, and the training isn't over yet. A golem erupts and claws up from the dirt he just shattered, forcing him into one more fight. But he handles it. He wipes himself off, catches his breath, and mutters that he finally feels refreshed. Still, he can't shake the question. He looks at his own hands and wonders whether this strength is a blessing from the gods, or just another trial they've dropped on him. That question gets answered the hard way. Somewhere out in the dark, a man screams the one word that changes everything. Monster. The kid finds the man clutching another person, terrified, and steps in to face whatever did this. He thought this was just a normal medieval world. Now he's staring at proof it has monsters in it. And this is no golem in the mud. A huge winged beast rears up out of the wrecked ground and roars, and Johan squares up against it alone. The beast lunges at Johan, its body erupting with red and purple energy as its glowing eyes lock onto him. And if he can't stop this charge, he's the one it tears through first. Its jaws snap open for him, but Johan reads it and slips the attack. Then he answers, slamming a counter-strike straight into it that rocks the beast back, claw thrown up in pain. For a second, it looks like he's won, the creature glowing red and dropping under his counter-strike, its threat seemingly ended. But it isn't a beast anymore. A demonic face looms up with teeth and roars, and unloads a massive blast down at him. Its claws come alive with red power, and a death mark burns into the air as they rake toward Johan. The claws hit him again and again. He cries out, gritting through it, gasping, "What in the world is this thing?" Then the demon lights up with a full death rune and detonates, claws and fire tearing into him non-stop. Our boy grits his teeth and screams back at it, refusing to go down under the onslaught. When it clears, he's on one knee, alone, hand pressed to his face, breathing ragged. Just now, he thinks, what was that? He stares at his own hand, glowing faintly where he struck, confused and shaken. The monster, gone. And whatever he just did to it, he has no idea. The kid stands alone in the dark forest, staring up at empty air where the demon just was. It vanished. He has no clue how, and it terrifies him more than the fight did. He checks the ones he came to protect, and they're breathing, safe. He pulls the child close and just says it plain, "I have no idea what happened, but at least everyone lived." Still shaken, he lingers in the moonlit clearing, thinking he really wanted to bring something back for once. Can't be helped. So he climbs onto his horse and rides toward the village, which is somehow still lit up bright in the distance. The realization slams into him like a physical blow. He'd been so busy surviving a monster that he completely forgot a crucial deadline was today. That was the whole point of the trip, and he blew it. At the village, a mounted official waits before a banner and a gathered crowd, and Johan's stomach drops. He kneels down before his collapsed father figure and starts fumbling out an excuse. "Father, I really had an unavoidable reason today." The moment goes cold. A gauntleted hand grips a glowing ornate blade, and the man he offended looms over him, snarling that someone like Johan dared to ignore him. Then he raises the weapon and promises to split that arrogant head open. A purple glow flares and figures rise inside it, one of them chanting to join and use their power. Our boy's brain just loops back to the same fact on repeat, that today was the day and he is so screwed. Back in the present, back before the crowd, the official on his white horse waits, and Johan is on his knees again, groveling harder, swearing there was truly an unavoidable reason today. An armed figure grips an ornate sword, the threat that keeps Johan pinned in place. He seethes on the inside, thinking he barely crawled back alive and now has to sit here eating criticism. And worst of all, not one wolf pelt to show for it. Then the modern brain kicks in. Turn crisis into opportunity, he decides, right as the panicked cries around him peak. The retainer Robert, the loyal old servant who'd been searching everywhere, finds the missing child and grabs them, sobbing thank goodness, truly thank goodness. The kid seizes the opening and spins it into a heroic tale that he fought enemies to save the child and beat them all. Then bows and begs forgiveness this one time. Someone growls in annoyance, but Johan is quietly congratulating himself. That was perfect self-PR, he thinks. If I were the interviewer, I'd hire me on the spot. To sell it, he throws in a detail, swearing he's not lying. He even ran into a huge black wolf out there. The frightened child clings to Robert's clothing, backing up the claim that something dangerous really was out there. For all his griping, Johan's honest with himself about the man, that he's annoying but still his parent, and he genuinely didn't want to fight him. Too bad, because the old man isn't in a talking mood. "Draw your sword, Johan," he barks, and lays down the rules. Swordsmanship only, no fists. Our boy just stares. The sword? A sword fight? A guy who's never held a blade in this world in his life, and now he's got about 2 seconds to figure it out. The old man is done waiting. "Draw your sword, Johan," he snaps, while the whole family watches from the stands. Johan just stands there, empty-handed. So the old man rolls his eyes and calls him a useless brat, then orders Johan's brother Philip to hand over his own blade so this can finally happen. Philip steps up and passes the sword over. The kid takes it, drops the whole fake modest act, and just thinks, fine, teach me then. He weighs the blade in his hand and clocks something nobody expects. Actually, Honestly, he thinks, this one's better than mine. Then Johan moves, and the family swordsman across from him has a whole moment of what is that? Because a guy who supposedly can't fight is suddenly reading the blade like he's done this 1,000 times. The strike lands, and the swordsman grunts in pain, back on his heels before he even set his feet. Our boy presses, overwhelming the man on pure aggression. Driving toward a finish the crowd can already see coming, but the borrowed body betrays him. His vision blurs, then blacks, right in the middle of the exchange. Someone screams his name in alarm. The kid cries out, blind and off balance, and the fight collapses into one last ugly collision of steel and hands. With his sight gone at the decisive moment, the win he was seconds from is now anyone's to take. When it clears, Johan's the one on the floor, and the crowd sits there stunned that the bastard's son got this close. The old man looms over him and lays down the terms. Get in my way again, he warns, and next time I crack your skull open. So Johan does the only smart thing left. He kneels. He surrenders in front of the entire household rather than die, proving a point. Someone in the crowd loses it at the injustice of it. A knight's supposed to have honor, he shouts. How do you do that to a son who saved you? Our boy just wears it, all resignation and quiet. Meanwhile, and while Johan's swallowing his humiliation at home, somewhere far off, a real slaughter is playing out. Someone watching it mutters that this is truly brutal. Energy tears through the air and comes down on two figures caught in the open, cutting them apart amid fire and rubble. The slaughter the watcher called brutal is these two being killed where they stand. A gauntleted hand closes around what's left of a man and simply crushes it, one fist, one sound, done. The victor stands over the bleeding wreck and reads the dead man's name off like a receipt. Brits, huh? Then he passes his verdict cold. Couldn't survive 2 hits, he sneers. Not even good enough to be a toy. And this is Karamaf, the Holy Empire's collector of signets, one of the Emperor's own killers, just warming up. Quick check-in on where our guy stands. The kid's still a powerless bastard clawing for coin and a title, one dirty contract at a time, and the muscle he's up against just took a name and a face. That man is Karamaf, and he steps forward and announces himself. By the authority of His Imperial Majesty's representative, the Sword of the Holy Empire. Then he names his title, the Collector of Signets, his armored form flaring with power as he seizes command of the assault. He gives one order, flat and total. Kill them all, seize everything, burn it down. So the army surges, swords, shields, one word, go, and they pour forward all at once. But Karamaf doesn't stand back and watch. He wades in himself, kicking a man skyward, and driving through everything that tries to answer him. Nothing he hits gets a second move. Men fold under him, one after another, helmets caving, bodies dropping mid-swing before they even land a blow. He carves through the whole line like the numbers were never the point. The last of them goes stiff and stunned, then just stops. Karamaf lands in the wreckage with debris still raining, not a scratch on him. The final fighter tips his head back, eyes gone, and slides down dead. Karamaf pushes out one more burst just to be sure, light tearing through the smoke. And when it's over, he's laughing, chest heaving, alone on top of a slaughter he did mostly by hand. That's the man now hunting the kind of world Johan's trying to survive in. Years earlier, cut back to Johan, and something's eating him. He clenches a fist, jaw tight, chewing on a memory. Ever since I saw that black wolf back then, he thinks, and the lore behind it isn't comforting. Since ancient times, black wolves have been marked as ominous things, an omen of evil just by existing. They scatter blood, they drag death behind them, and the priest gave them a name for it, the omen of death. Our boy waves it off. It's superstition, he snaps. Even Priest Valver said the whole thing was just a legend. Except a memory says otherwise. A shirtless brute gets called out, hey you mongrel, and then a black wolf is on him. He swings, he dodges, he fights for his life. It isn't enough. The wolf lands one heavy strike and the big man buckles, shock and pain all over his face. The kid watches it play back and the doubt drains out of him. What those guys said, he admits, it's true. That's when his brother Philip steps in, cloth sack in hand, waiting on him. Whatever's in the bag, Philip's holding it out to Johan. Our boy takes the wolf memory the way he takes everything, with a shrug. Expected as much, he thinks. At least it let me live. Philip spreads his arms and needles him. Aren't you disappointed, he asks, watching for the crack. Then Philip drops the real thing. Their father believes that one day Johan's power will take everything away from him. The kid doesn't even flinch. That's absurd, he says, and lets it die there. Philip signals a servant. Bring that, he orders, and the man hurries off with a yes, Lord Philip. The servant lays out the gear, a plain surcoat and a longsword. Nobody's sure how long they've sat in the castle. Just please, Philip adds, don't cause any trouble. Our boy lifts a small piece of the armor and turns it in his hand, the two of them standing out under a huge dead tree and the castle ruined. His eye goes wide. This is the armor he saw in his dream, he realizes. The exact set. And the dream comes flooding back. A monster looming over him drawing steel and bracing as debris rains down, then one glowing slash carving through it. Cut to a commoner camp at night, fires going, someone snapping don't speak nonsense. A dark-haired man hoists two kids up out of the crowd, laughing. One villager sizes up the lords out loud. The kid is way more knight-like, he says, compared to that lecherous drunkard Gessen, the drunken rival. An old man cackles and hauls a barrel over his head like a trophy. Why? Someone presses, and the old man just keeps celebrating, barrel and all. Off to the side, someone watches them run their mouths. A total stranger is clearly listening, he notes, and they trash talk the Lord anyway. The people of this territory seem to have no fear at all. Then a voice with no face attached speaks. I've become interested in your story, it says. Tell me. Someone hums, strolling alone through the settlement in the dark, slipping past a helmeted knight with a symbol on the chest without being stopped or noticed. Our boy sits alone in the village square at dusk, and something makes him pause. Then it hits him. What is this, he thinks, something cold, which is never a fun sentence to think alone at dusk. A red slash tears the air, and Johan throws himself back, breath ragged as it keeps coming. The kid barely catches the next strike, hands screaming, and his brain starts sprinting. Who is this, an assassin sent by Gessen? No, if it were Gessen, he'd have come differently. He keeps running the list. Sent by Madam, or God, is it Philip? Panic bleeds into his voice as he offers the hooded attacker everything. I'll give you all the money I have. But the hooded man doesn't want money. He knows the name. Johan, he says, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and if the answers are bad, he'll put a blade through Johan's throat right there. Our boy's modern brain short circuits? Questions? Answer wrong and I die? Is this guy insane? Then he steadies himself with the only frame that fits. Stay sharp, this is just the second interview round at a major corporation. So he squares up and takes the challenge. Then let's begin, bring it on. The attacker answers with a fast strike, then a strange compliment. Good body, hard to believe you came from that pig of a man. The kid doesn't flinch at the insult to his father. Even from pig's blood, he says, a lion can be born. The hooded man freezes, genuinely rattled by the line. Johan doesn't get why that landed so hard, and before he can ask, the attacker drops the disguise. Glowing eyes, an X-shaped scar, a monstrous grin under the hood as he says the name again. Johan Eitz, the runaway son of that drunken lord. So who is this man in the snow? His name is Kygel, and for all his skill with a blade, he carried one problem. He could never find anyone to pass his swordsmanship onto. Sitting alone amid blood and wreckage, Kygel remembers the ones with real talent. Every time he offered to teach, they spat it back. Learn assassin's techniques? I'd rather die than dishonor my name. So he obliged them. His blade found each one, and he stood over their graves, telling himself these were deaths chosen in the name of honor. That's how Kygel became known as the venomous snake who grants everyone a peaceful death. Then an informant hands him a lead. His successor sits in a nowhere village at the family's castle, among the sons of that lecherous drunkard lord. Kygel scoffs. My successor in the middle of the boonies? The informant sweetens it. 1 gold coin buys decent land, and cackling offers to give the coin back if the prophecy's wrong. Kygel refuses to touch a witch's cursed money, and just decides to trust the reed instead, which is how Kygel ends up in the snow testing Johan. Even walking into Aitz's territory, his doubt never faded, and he'd already promised himself he'd kill the boy without mercy the second he disliked what he found. Kygel has seen enough scowling, so he cuts to it. No more time to waste. When Johan asks what a guildmaster this good would cost, Kygel flatly says he takes no payment. Our boy can't believe it. A master with skills like that, teaching him personally for free? The greed on his face says everything before he even opens his mouth. So Johan slaps on his brightest smile and gushes. Master, what took you so long? Kygel just mutters one cold word back, and the boy's grin barely survives the look on that face. Back at the family castle, the lecherous drunkard lord announces his inspection's done and he's leaving for a while. When a servant tries to raise that Johan hasn't come back, the father snaps that he won't waste his time on trivial matters. He doesn't care, and the servant just apologizes and drops it. Out near the forest, the lesson turns lethal. Kygel says he needs to see how skilled Johan really is, and quietly wonders if he should just kill the boy right now. He asks if Johan's ready. The kid draws his sword and shouts yes. One look at that clumsy stance and Kygel's disappointed. This is a son of a knightly family? He decides there's no choice but to end him. Fists, stones, knives, doesn't matter, he tells Johan. Use whatever you want. Then Kygel comes in for the kill, everything he's got poured into a single strike meant to finish it. But the blow doesn't land clean, and Johan's still standing when the dust clears. Kygel stares, stunned, thinking his suspicion had been completely meaningless, and Johan just grins at him. All that doubt, and the bastard son was the real thing after all. Then Johan buries a fist into him and sends the old assassin flying. Kygel reels, reeling not from the hit itself, but the sheer pressure behind it. Just the punches alone, and it's like facing a lion. Kygel's still hurting from that punch, and one thought loops in his head. If that fist lands clean, his bones are done. Fighting Johan, he thinks, is like squaring off against a lion. So Johan presses in, throwing everything he has. Kygel can't even read him anymore, and he panics inside. Where's the strike coming from? Below? Above? Where? He genuinely can't track it. The blow slams home and blows them both off their feet, and they skid apart across the desert dirt. Kygel drags himself up, honestly stunned. He struck Johan with the flat of his blade, and the kid didn't even drop. He calls him an absurd monster. Says born 1,000 years ago, Johan would have been a legend. Then his face goes cold. He tells Johan he has a fatal weakness, and at this rate, he will definitely die. Our boy stops. Die? What's that supposed to mean? Kygel lays it out plain. Johan can't control his own strength, and that power is going to kill him. Then he waits waves him on again, come at me, and dangles the one bait he knows works. He'll hand over a gold coin, the thing Johan loves so dearly. The kid bites, holding Kegal to that promise, and comes in hard with a heavy downward strike and a flurry after it. But that's exactly the flaw. Johan overextends, his own power turns on him, and he staggers with a pained grunt and hits the ground. Kegal stands over him, cursing under his breath, and drives the lesson home. See it now? You were beaten by your own strength. And then, quiet and final, you will definitely die. On the ground, Johan makes the only decision that matters. Learn to control it, learn it, and I survive. So he gets up and moves differently this time. Faster, controlled, and lands a clean finishing strike that cracks Kegal's armor wide open. Kegal actually gapes at it. The kid cut through armor with just the scabbard, no edge at all. And that's when Kegal tells him the real prize. Once Johan handles that immense power properly, he can't even imagine how strong the kid becomes. Then Kegal lifts his weapon over Johan one more time and asks the question that starts the real training. Are you prepared? Kegal asks if Johan is ready for real training, and the kid just grins back. Yes, master, no hesitation. Later, that answer sends us somewhere new. A fortified keep sits deep in the forest, and Johan stands alone in the courtyard, facing a whole crowd of armored strangers. For a second, he panics, hand to his head, out of his depth. A guard steps up and demands who he is and why he's parked at the gate. Then the crowd shows their colors, the Wolves of Aquitaine, a mercenary corps, and they're hiring. The second Johan hears job info, the fear drains right out of him. He snaps to attention, saluting like his life depends on it. Yes sir, this is his first real paid contract and he wants in. Then they show him the pay, and the modern man in him nearly loses it. Gold coins, money he thinks he'd never see if he rolled around begging his whole life. For a guy who trusts nothing but coin, this is heaven. Our boy takes his place, mercenaries gathering behind him, and throws himself into the job with everything he's got. But the work is brutal, and here's the trap. Kegal's warning was real. Johan's monstrous strength still runs wild, spilling out faster than he can steer it. Someone calls it. Enough. The power keeps roaring off him, even as he tries to hold it back, and it drops an enemy flat. Even while he's pinned and bound in white wrappings, Johan forces out his name, nervous as ever. I'm Johan, from the Eitz family. But something about him rattles the men around him. One of them, watching Johan bound and helpless, still can't shake the dread. He's never felt anything like this, not even fighting the Black Wolves. It's the killing intent pouring off the kid, so thick it's hard to breathe. Even tied up and weeping, Johan is the scariest thing in the room. Then Johan drops the quiet threat. You're in my way, and he means every word of it. The attackers close in and taunt him anyway. Sure, he's scared stiff, the leader sneering that there might not even be a next time for a noble brat like him. The kid lets it slide, saying he doesn't want trouble on a good day. Then he adds the part that should terrify them, at least not yet. He walks off toward the gate, filing every face away for later. Quick catch up on where our boy stands. Johan is still a bastard son with no name, no money, and no magic, clawing to survive in a world that wants him dead. Right now, the thing that could bury him just walked into his father's lands. The Emperor's direct knight, Karamaf, the Empire representative. Karamaf strides through the fortress and up the stone stairs, and the whole castle bends around him. A noblewoman throws herself at him, gushing that he's the most handsome man she'll ever see, that she'd have married later if she'd known he existed. Karamaf doesn't even slow down. She scrambles after him, begging, is he even listening? He mutters that she's a cunning wench and keeps walking. In the ruined future, then we get the man himself, armored and winged, seated like a throne is beneath him. Everyone around him is small. He raises a fist wreathed in power and flatly tells the whole room to get out. They scatter, and Karamaf stands alone in the dark, that golden light burning at his chest. He's not passing through. He says it plain to himself. I will wait in this castle. That threat waiting in the castle is exactly why Johan needs to get stronger fast. And back at his lessons, that's what he's grinding at. He and the masked swordmaster collide, and every clash rattles Johan to the bone. The master keeps his cold composure and barks at him mid-strike, because a single lapse in concentration is what leaves Johan open. You brat, can't you focus? Our boy eats a blow to the shoulder, proof of exactly that failing, and gets the question again, why isn't he focusing? And Johan can't focus because his head's stuck on the knights. He tells the master those Emperor's knights showed up in the village and something about them feels wrong. The master shrugs it off, saying this is Eitz territory. But knights or not, what could Johan possibly do about it anyway? Then the master lays it out straight. The Emperor's direct knight Karamaf is the strongest warrior on the whole continent, a pillar of the Holy Empire. The kid sits with that jaw tight. And instead of backing off, Johan sets his mind. If he ever had to face Karamaf, he'd do it. He says it out loud. I'll do it. He slams that resolve into training, sparring against the master to close the gap toward Karamaf, swinging with everything he has. Again and again. The masked swordmaster leans back, cool as ever, and points at the thing in Johan's hand. That's not even a sword, he says. It's a scabbard. Our boy tugs at it and can't figure out why the blade won't come free. So the master gives him the real lesson. It's the flow of power. Not swinging wild and hard, but reading the weapon and feeding it exactly the right amount. Johan swings again, focused this time, and mid-swing, it starts to click. The master catches it before Johan does. The dull thud of the boy's sword is turning into something sharp. Strike after strike lands hands cleaner, and Johann finally locks his grip and pours the exact measure of force the master described. The master feels the danger a beat too late and unleashes a spiraling purple energy attack to defend himself. The kid cuts clean through, the blade finally answering him. "I cut," he says, half in disbelief. Johann throws his arms up. "I did it, I've got the hang of it." The scarred master just glares and tells himself it has to be a fluke. "Fine," he growls, "I won't go easy this time." Johann grins right back and waves him on. They go again harder, and Johann unleashes a full blast of purple magenta energy that decides the bout in his favor. He punches the air, yelling that he won again, while the master ends up flat on the ground, clutching his head like the loss physically hurts. Beaten by this kid, the master's mind keeps circling it. Just from watching him briefly on that first day, did the brat perfectly absorb the technique? Sitting there among the broken weapons, he admits the worst part out loud. Our boy is using it with more precision than he does. He watches Johann celebrate below and just shakes his head. "What a truly absurd brat," he mutters. Picked up a whole new skill like it was nothing. That night in the forest, the old master drops it on Johann out of nowhere. "Lessons are over," he says, and he's leaving at sunrise. The kid protests, saying he only just got the hang of the sword. "It's over? Just like that?" The master looks him dead in the eye and admits the thing he hates to say. Johann has become stronger than him, but he's at peace with it. As long as his swordsmanship gets passed on and doesn't die with him, he's satisfied. So he tells Johann to go live however he pleases. He gives the kid one last nod. "You've worked hard." Our boy just grips the sword, grinning. Johann asks if he's really leaving. The old man says he's never stayed anywhere long. It's just how he is. But as Johann turns to go, a burst of fire erupts nearby, cutting the goodbye short. Before he goes, Johann brings up something that's been eating at him. He asks about Redface. The master corrects him. That's the Black Wolf. The kid tells him the truth. After meeting that thing, he dreamed his own head got cut clean off. The memory of those teeth still sits wrong with him. So the master leaves him with a few rules to live by. First, find a weapon that can take his strength. Something made of Dana's steel. The catch is Dana's steel can't be forged anymore. The method's lost, so it only turns up mined from ancient ruins. You'd know it just by the shine. And here's the part that matters. If Johann ever spots someone else wielding Dana's steel, even way off in the distance, he should run and not look back. Our boy just says he'll keep that in mind, then asks if the master's heading out now. The old man leaves him the cardinal rule. Never fight someone you can't beat. If you're in danger, run. And if you're forced to fight, do whatever it takes to kill them. No honor, no fairness. Follow those words, the master says, and you probably won't die. That's the whole lesson from a man who clearly plans to keep it cheap and stay breathing. Meanwhile, over at the family castle, a noble swirls an expensive drink, takes a sip and sneers that it tastes like piss. He crushes the bottle in his grip and starts talking about better pleasures waiting for him, with a blonde woman leaning in close. She works the seduction, biting a dagger and purring that it'll be cozy. Just the two of them, she won't disappoint. He shuts it all down cold. Get lost. Then a servant slips in that Lord Gessen, the drunken rival, won't be back until late tonight. And that flips everything. The seduction was a cover, and now she stands over her target's fallen body, her mission done, muttering she was getting sick of him anyway. This is perfect. The blade comes down fast, and the killing is done. The purple-skinned assassin stands victorious over the fallen body, while a small terrified figure cowers below her, spared only to witness it. Years earlier, a muffled cry, a choked kyok, and it's done. Somewhere out there, Johann turns toward a burning horizon. The road ahead already lit red. Johann stares up at the sky, confused. Glowing runes cascade down over the whole village, and he doesn't get what he's looking at. Then he sees it. The village is burning. Down in the streets, people are already panicking, screaming about the smoke pouring up. An armed group watches from a distance, one bearded warrior barking at another to get moving because the fire's spreading fast. But the two warriors are trading insults instead of running, and that's their mistake. A castle gate blows open in one hit, and bodies slam into the brick wall. When the smoke clears, a glowing armored figure steps out. The bearded man barely gets out a shout before the thing has him by the throat. It squeezes, and he screams that this is no attack, it's a purge. That word doesn't save him. This is Karamaf, the Emperor's direct knight and the strongest warrior on the continent, and he tears through them all. A horn gets blown, weapons come up to defend, and none of it matters. He wipes the whole area out in fire. Inside the castle, a soldier drags a grizzled old man into an interrogation and beats him. He wants one thing, where the illegitimate son ran off to. The old man takes the blows and gives up nothing. The old man makes a last stand, slashing back with everything he has, and gets thrown down bloody for it. He was buying time, and the one he wouldn't name is walking straight back into the fire. A voice cries out Johann's name in pure panic. It's Priest Valver, the priest who once argued the wolf legends were real, now standing there with a sword drawn in the middle of the massacre, begging Johann to run instead of dying here for nothing. Valver and a young companion throw themselves flat as the blast rolls over the ruins. Then the boy freezes, because he knows that voice. It's Johann standing in the burning wreckage. Valver gasps out, "Lord Johann," and Johann just tells them both to get up and move before this whole place comes down on them. Johann throws a hand out and cuts a path through the fire, covering the huddle of civilians while they scramble clear. He stands there in the flames, torn between staying and fleeing, looking back at a cluster of villagers with a little girl shielded in their arms. That distressed look on his face says he's decided to turn back and protect them. Steel meets steel as Johann pins a guard down and cuts him loose from the fight. Nearby, the old man who wouldn't talk lies still, eyes shut, done buying time. Johann kneels and cradles the injured child, telling her it's all right now. Valver sees him and calls his name again, Lord Johann. But Johann sets the child projectile down and starts walking the wrong way, deeper into it, sword in hand. Valver panics. Wait, where are you going? The old bearded man begs him. You mustn't go, you have to run. But Johann ignores the warning and marches straight for the castle, flying that red banner with the golden crest, drawing his glowing blade to take the fight to the enemy himself. And that's Karamaf, the Holy Empire's royal guard and signet collector, waiting inside the walls. The guards spot him and can't believe it. That bastard, isn't he the illegitimate son? I thought he ran. Karamaf doesn't even ask questions. He gives one order. Kill him immediately. So the guards rush him, and Johann carves through the first, then the next, then drops the last with one heavy strike. Then he just walks away from the burning castle, alive, and inside his own head the doubt finally catches up. Why am I even going to the castle? Valver's warning loops in his mind. Run away. Walking in like this is just a dog's death. Turns out the smart part of his brain filed its complaint about 10 minutes too late. He steps past the bodies laid out under grave markers, their swords stuck in the dirt, and comes face to face with the hooded warrior Karamaf, who only asks him one thing. Why did you come back? The hooded warrior Karamaf keeps pleading with Johann to turn and run while there's still time. Then he lets a strange thing slip. Later, if Johann ever becomes lord, there was something he'd wanted to give him. But Karamaf doesn't wait for an answer. He blasts Johann with a burst of power and keeps hammering him, forcing the fight he warned Johann to run from and leaving no way out but to fight back. Johann eats the hit hard and staggers, snarling, then swings back and buries his blade in the man, weapon coming away wet. Karamaf pieces it together mid-fight. He'd heard a son of the Eitz, the drunken lord, family ran off, and now he remembers this face from the castle. You are Johann Eitz? Johann's in no mood for names. He tells the man to just call him human number 1, who's pissed off at him, then spits a curse and comes forward. Karamaf sneers that Johann could have lived if he'd just run, so clearly he doesn't value his life. Then he beckons him in. Come. And that word drops us into the real fight. Johann charges in, and the two combatants clash swords in midair. His family grievance now settled with blades instead of words. Blade against blade, Johann drives him back across the floor, forcing the masked warrior to brace and trade strike for strike. Karamaf answers with a savage flurry of thrusts, each one slamming home, and Johann is suddenly the one on the back foot. An overhead strike nearly caves him in. Johann blocks it, spins off the force, and gets shoved backwards, scrambling to keep his guard up. And Karamaf is loving it, grinning as their blades keep clashing. This is fun, he says. After decades of facing knights, this bastard son is the first to actually entertain him in a fight. Johann resets his stance. No technique, just raw force behind every swing. He meets Karamaf blade to blade and starts hacking down at him. Their swords cross again and again, and Karamaf pours on the power, driving Johann under a barrage he can barely throw his arms up against. Karamaf pours everything into one last surge, and the energy erupts around Johann like a wall trying to bury him. But Johann holds his blade up, braces, and cuts straight through the collapsing tide. When the blast clears, Johann is still standing in the wreckage, blade low, breathing hard, and Karamaf just watches him, delighted. How amusing, he says. This is on a whole other level compared to Brits. But the fun stops here, because the real threat wasn't Karamaf. A horned beast in Danis armor drops out of the red sky, claws spread wide, hungry for a fight. This is so much fun, it snarls, tearing down at Johann. Entertain me more. Johann curses it as the bastard beast serving Eitz and slashes up to meet it. The creature just answers with a heavier blow, blasting him backward. He's driven across the ground, arms up, barely holding under the assault. The next claw comes down with all its weight. Johann gets his guard between them, then twists the block into a counter and lands a strike right on its hide. The two break apart, and the beast finally looks down at itself. My Danis armor cracked? For a human to break Danis steel is supposed to be impossible, and it just happened. Johann doesn't wait for it to process. He piles on, one heavy swing after another, hammering the same wild slashes that shouldn't work but keep landing. Down, up, down again. No technique, just brute force finding the gap. The last hit lands like a bomb going off between them, and the beast gets hurled back hard. The monster that came here to be entertained isn't laughing anymore. So here's where our boy stands. Still a nameless bastard son, no magic, no system, just a borrowed body and a sword that shouldn't be winning. And right now he's trading blows with a horned beast in Danis armor that came here to be entertained. The beast keeps sneering at how sloppy this is. All wild swings, zero technique. Then Johann meets it in the air and lands a clean slash that connects, proving the crude swings are enough to break through the creature's guard and put it on the defensive. The last hit drops like a hammer and the beast goes down. Johann just stands there breathing, sword still up. The thing can't wrap its head around it. He's not using any technique at all, and yet its supposedly unbreakable armor is cracked. It decides Johann is a dangerous one, and it starts waiting for that stupid slash to come again so it can time the counter. But Johann doesn't give it the pattern it wants. He keeps hammering, forcing the beast onto pure defense, its guard barely holding as the blows keep finding the same cracked spots. The beast tries to absorb one and shove back, but Johann reads it and turns the block into a clean counter straight to its chest. What? It didn't see that coming. From there, it's all downhill for the monster. It stumbles, twists, and Johann piles on the finishing rush, every hit driving it back further. The final exchange goes off like a bomb, both of them swallowed in the blast. And when the smoke thins, it's Johann pressing his advantage, swinging down through the wreckage to keep the beaten opponent from recovering. The beast will not stay down. Eyes burning, fist clenched, it drags itself up and loads everything into one massive rising strike, its whole body igniting like it's done playing. The armor blazes white hot as the beast rises one more time, fury and pride refusing to let let it fall. This was never just some monster hungry for a show. This is the swordsmanship of Keigal, the assassin. Keigal drives his sword down with everything he has, eyes burning orange, teeth bared, done treating this like a game. The blow lands like a bomb going off, both of them lost in the shockwave. And the whole time, this was never some mindless monster. This is the killing art of Keigal, the assassin who ends disciples who won't follow his path. He came for Johan on purpose. His attack rips the ground apart in one blast, and Keigal just stands there in the smoke, watching to see if the kid gets up. Johan drags himself upright in the fire and wreckage, and the shock hits his face all at once. He turns on the man who did this and demands it straight. You, why did you do this? Keigal pauses, then says it plainly. It was for His Majesty, the Emperor. The Holy Empire is more shaky now than it's ever been, and that's why he came hunting talent. He tests Johan again, cutting across his torso, hammering down another strike, all while he talks. Decades fighting knights and warriors, he says, and he's never once seen anyone like this kid. So this is the pitch. His Majesty needs a talented man. The Empire's endless gold will bring Johan glory. The Emperor himself will knight him. All he has to do is become the Emperor's sword and walk this bloody road at Keigal's side. Someone screams Johan's name, and our boy just goes quiet, face still, weighing the whole offer in silence. Then he turns away. Everything Keigal dreamed of, the heir he's been hunting for, and Johan lets out one soft sound and says no. Keigal actually flinches? What? He genuinely can't process it. But Johan's answer is already cold and set. They were innocent. Keigal doesn't even understand the objection. The servants? He bares his teeth and spits it out. So what if he killed a few? Is Johan's mother some lowly serf that it matters? To Keigal, they're nothing but insects, the weak who exist to bleed. And that word is exactly why Johan's turning on him instead of joining him. Keigal lays out the whole rotten creed. In this world, he says, the weak shed their blood, and the strong drink it. That's the line Johan won't stomach. Hurt but locked in, he digs deep and mutters this time. And this time he's not the weak one bleeding. So he throws everything at Keigal, no technique, just raw murderous force, and lands strike after strike until the assassin takes a real wound. Johan doesn't let up. He chases the killer down for the finish, driving him back with pure pressure. Then something in Johan breaks open. His fist crackles, power surging out of a body that was never supposed to have any, and he winds up for one massive blow. Keigal roars and tries to weather it, teeth bared, eyes blazing, refusing to fall to a bastard he was ready to crown his heir. But the strike lands like a collapse. Wave after wave slams into him, and for all his decades of killing, the assassin can only scream through it. His eye still glows red, still fighting, but the relentless eruption is burying him. The assassin who was ready to crown Johan his heir is being beaten down by the very power he never expected, and it won't stop. When it finally clears, Johan stands over him, fist smoking, and Keigal collapses gasping beneath him. Decades of murder ended by the boy who refused the job. Johan pins the killer down amid the fire, blood on him, breath ragged, jaw set. He's not done yet. He clenches that glowing fist one more time and cuts the assassin down for good, finishing him against the burning wall. Then it's just Johan alone in the ashes of his home at dusk. A world where death is a given, he thinks. But he looks out over the ruins, the family and neighbors, those bastards slaughtered and burned, and the grief hardens into something colder. This is the world that made him. Johan comes off the wall hard, cloak snapping, that one eye burning cold as he drives back in. This isn't the wild swinging Keigal mocked earlier. It's the assassin's own style turned back on him. Johan lands one more blow, and Keigal drops for good. The killer who ended every disciple who wouldn't follow him finally beaten. The fight is over, and Johan has won. But now the ashes hand him a different problem entirely. A wounded soldier lies pinned as Johan looms over him, and the man refuses to believe a word Johan says about who really burned this place. Johan spells it out flat. Those bastards slaughtered his family, his neighbors, every person in this territory. The soldier still spits back, demanding proof. Sure, it's all a lie. And proof is coming the hard way. A soldier reports the pursuit party is ready, and their commander agrees to move out fast. The order goes down the line to every troop. Hunt Johan down and kill him. No questions, no truth, just the chase. So Johan runs, bolting across rooftops with soldiers on his heels. When they close, he blocks and counters, buying steps, but there are too many. The commander screams to hunt him down and finish it, and blades come at him from all sides while the order still hangs in the air. Above the burning sky, the crimson sun banner of the Holy Empire waves over it all. This is who's hunting him now. Somewhere in the ruin, a dying voice tells him he has to survive. Johan drags himself up, bleeding, cloak on, pain all over his face, but still standing. Out in the forest, he crouches over a soldier he's dropped, thinking the pursuit party moved way faster than he counted on. He's got no money, no strength left. House 8's the drunken lord burned to nothing behind him. Then he eyes the dead man's expensive armor and does the cold math anyway. If this guy's armor can work as a shield, he'll just haul the corpse along until he's clear. So there he goes, hunched and groaning. A whole armored body slung over his shoulders through the mud. Reincarnated genius, currently a pack mule. That's when something worse finds him. An armored warhorse with a spiked mane rears up, red magic tearing off its hooves, and Johan recognizes the beast on sight. It slams him flat, and pinned under it, Johan just smiles through gritted teeth, already scheming his way out. This is Gessen's mount, and his people track by the shine of Dana's steel. Gessen and his soldiers fan out in the dark, dead certain that bastard is close, chasing the last glow of that armor. Then a horseman's head snaps up. He hears hoofbeats, magic trailing through the trees, and the hunt closes in on Johan again. The hunt is right on top of him now. Gessen's riders come tearing through the trees and slam into Johan blade to blade, the collision bursting with light as they try to cut him down before he can slip away. But Johan keeps running through the night, and slowly the hoofbeats fade behind him. Under a full moon, he finally stops and catches his breath, still alive. That's when he spots it below him. Heavy armor left abandoned on the ground, and even from here it looks worth a fortune. That armor really does look expensive, he thinks. He climbs down and grabs a glowing purple gauntlet, testing its weight. Light but solid. Broke and empty-handed after losing House 8, Johan isn't walking away from free treasure. He pulls a magical purple blade out of the dirt too, and makes his call. He'll take the good pieces and bury the rest so nobody can track him by it. But his hands are still ruined from the wounds. Damn it, he grits. There's no strength left to even grip the sword and no room to run. The pursuit is back on him. Cornered, he swings anyway, forced to fight off his pursuers with everything his broken body has left just to survive. Then the thing that's actually hunting him shows itself. A mouth splits open with red energy pouring out, and it lets loose a scream that isn't human at all. Johan's stomach drops the second he sees it. It's a monster, he realizes. One of those recurring beasts, and this is no soldier he can bluff past. It slams into him and throws him across the ground. But Johan drags himself up, teeth bared, and comes back swinging that purple blade instead of curling up to die. His strike knocks the beast back for the first time, and he doesn't let up. He chases it right into the air, hunting the thing that was hunting him. He lands the finishing blow with everything he's got left, and the creature bolts galloping off through the treetops. And in that moment, Johan flashes back. A small child staring up at a towering figure, a memory tied to this beast he keeps meeting. A dark-haired man stands over a field of fallen bodies, roaring upward with his sword lit blue as he cuts down the horned creatures swarming him. A memory of a past battle that reveals why this beast haunts Johan. Back in the present, but the beast isn't done. Its head rises out of the dark red energy bleeding from its face, and it looms over Johan sprawled on the ground. Then that same red energy floods through Johan's own body. The same power he just faced now surges in him, and the fight is far from over. Johan is stuck, wrapped in bandages, half wrecked from the fight. He looks down over a canyon and sees the one thing he didn't want, a checkpoint. He mutters that the way out is completely blocked. There's no clean path down from these mountains. Down below moves a trade wagon, boxed in by armed escorts. At first he reads it as a peddler caravan, but then he clocks the gear. This isn't merchants with spears, it's heavily armed cavalry. One of the escorts points it out to his partner Gamson, a cavalry guard riding beside the wagon. Look closely, he says. That rider is fully clad in armor on a warhorse, and they are not. The guards trade nervous talk about whole units getting wiped out, and one doubts it's really that bad. Their captain snaps, telling somebody to drag the doubter out of his sight so he can think. So Johan makes a call. Battered and alone in a lethal mountain pass, he walks straight down toward the caravan, instead of running. The armed riders approach at sunset, and their leader gives a quiet order to his men. Knock the stranger off first if a fight kicks off. The leader introduces himself. He's Eldons of the Katana Trading Company, a fox-faced merchant with steel behind the smile. His guards fan into formation, ready to drop Johan where he stands. Johan knows exactly how he looks right now. Bloodied and bandaged and deeply suspicious, so he plays it straight. He names himself Johan and says bandits jumped him on the road earlier, that's why he's a mess. When Eldon's men bristle, he lifts a hand and asks why anyone would even bother attacking him. Eldons laughs it off and apologizes for the rudeness. Sure, he understands, he says, which is exactly why he's careful. He sizes Johan up, notes the guy looks strong but not shady, and shrugs. Very well, let's do it. He agrees to let Johan travel with a caravan on the long road to Marseille. But Eldons isn't stupid. Under his breath, to his guards, he gives the real terms. If anything happens, don't hesitate to kill him. They finally reach the checkpoint, and Johan's whole plan is to slip through unnoticed. Now the name clicks for him. Katana Trading Company runs its main office out of Marseille, the commercial hub, a city even the emperor won't touch without caution. Riding in under their banner is his ticket past the gate. Except the guards single him out. One flat out calls him a traitor. They jeer at the mask covering his ruined face, one sneering that his mother must have clenched too hard giving birth, and demand he take it off. Then the captain leans in with a real question. Is he hiding something? And Johan, cornered at the gate with a merchant's blade already promised to his back, refuses to remove the mask or back down, gambling that holding his ground beats exposing himself. Whatever's coming, he's decided he's getting through. Cornered at the gate, Johan grits his teeth and thinks this could turn into a fight. But before he moves, Eldons of the Katana Trading Company steps in cold. Interfere with us any further, and I file a complaint straight to the authorities. That name carries real weight, so the guards back off. The official waves Johan through with a sneer, calling him a lucky sorry bastard, and Johan lets out a long breath as he slips past into Marseille. That night, the caravan sets up camp. The commander barks at everyone to check their gear one more time, and dumps night watch on the oldest and the newest recruits, which lands Johan right on the graveyard shift. Meanwhile, off in the dark, someone else is on the move. A black-haired man thanks a gray-haired woman and wraps a bundle tight, plainly readying to slip away. Then kneels straining at a cavern mouth, staring up at a moonlit sky as rain starts to fall. Then a voice grips that bundle and lays out the plan. Cold and clear, we surround them from the hill and strike all at once. A leader rises above a pack of armed figures and lunges into a flurry of claw strikes. Now the story rewinds to who this officer really was before the wolves. Back in the modern world, he was a non-commissioned officer who held off a full company-level assault with only a handful of men. He stood victorious in the smoke while his soldiers soldiers watched and got hauled up for a reward leave and a commendation as a lieutenant colonel. He salutes, jaw set dead certain, because he studied strategy and tactics in advance. He gripes the whole time about the old fart brass, the murderous shift schedule, and the freezing, boiling posts, listing off every grievance from his old service. A black-furred shape appears with a rat's tail, and a soldier thrashes to escape. The creature pins him and asks where he thinks he's going. You can come in any time, it says, but you can't leave. Its jaws crank wide, and it tears into the man in a storm of claws, and his eyes flare cold blue. Then Johann jerks awake, wrapped in someone's arms, asking, was it a dream? He sits up gripping his sword, every muscle screaming, hand going to his aching neck. He holds the blade across his chest, shaken, not sure what's real, because outside the tent, it very much isn't a dream. A massive-eyed creature lunges out of the dark, its whip-like weapon snaring one of the men. The ambush on the camp has begun, and a merchant guard carrying a sword like that, the enemy already smells a demon blade among them. The camp erupts in shock as armored soldiers pour out of the night. An attack, and the fear spreading is that soldiers are behind it, dragging Johann straight into the chaos he just woke to. Quick catch-up, Johann, the modern man reborn as a powerless bastard noble, has been clawing his way up one dangerous job at a time. Right now, he's riding merchant escort, and the night has just gone to hell. A wolf thing lunges out of the dark, fangs bared, snarling right into a guard's face. The camp reels, everyone scrambling in the black, not sure where the next hit comes from. One escort turns, a small object clutched in his palm, and passes it to another man with a single word, Dolka, handing off whatever it is like it matters. A grizzled fighter spits about the corps that folded like cowards, terrified of a single-armed rider, and useless in a real fight. He stares out at the dark, weapon drawn, done waiting on anyone else. Then it's on. The escorts trade brutal blows with the attackers, crushing hits back and forth until an explosion rips through the line. An eye-patched man recoils from the blast, then drags himself back to his feet, crying out through the smoke. One of his companions finds him alive and breathes out relief. Thank goodness you're safe, even as another man groans nearby. Someone reports Johann's whereabouts. He's hiding under the carriage while the guards gather to form up a defense. The problem is nobody knows which side the attack is coming from, so the eye-patched man calls it, they'll handle their own ground and hold the line themselves. Everyone prepare. But Johann isn't hiding to cower. He grabs the eye-patched man, urgently begging for a weapon so he can fight instead of stay defenseless, waiting on the answer as the enemy closes in. The enemy hits, masked raiders swarm up with lit blades, some hurling fire to overwhelm the defenders. Johann takes a sword and rises into a full overhead stance, joining the fight himself. A white-haired fighter roars now, and the raiders charge as one, weapons up, him leading from the front. Johann grips his blade, stunned by the shouted order. If everyone charges out, who covers the rest? Then he answers it himself, cutting one clean stroke across the front of the attack. The scarred old commander is furious anyone dared hit them in the dark, screaming about the night attack as the two lines slam together. The hooded raider captain answers his own way, roaring at his men to just bury the defenders under numbers. For a moment, the raiders' plan works. A soldier's overhead strike gets swallowed. Two fighters lock up and strain, and the white-haired fighter who led the charge is struck down hard, losing the defenders their commander at the worst moment. But Johann wades in and turns the map. It takes a blow on his blade, then answers, cutting through the front rank, while the raiders keep colliding into him instead of the broken line. A defender braces behind his big shield and freezes, because Johann is doing something that shouldn't be possible from a mere escort. Even Johann, gripping his blade, thinks, what is this, feeling the borrowed sword move like it's alive. He swings again, and the raiders start dropping, and their whispers give him away first. One mutters that a merchant escort swinging a demon sword makes no sense, and another decides this is no ordinary noble. Johann doesn't slow down. He roars back into the crowd, and near the carriage, Robert flinches, watching the man they hired carve the whole raid apart. The bandits ask each other now, hoping for an opening, but Johann just grins and takes it from them, tearing through the last of the press. One raider flips clear trying to survive. The rest crowd forward in a panic, and it's over. The defenders start chanting Johann's name twice, like they can't believe who saved them, while the commander barks the order to bind whoever's left alive. With the fight done, the captives spill everything. They're a lord's private soldiers, deserters the Imperial Army branded as rebels, and hunted down, swearing there was never any treason at all. Johann's already got what he needs, so instead of the easy kill, he orders them spared. And his own men can't understand why he's letting rebels live. Katana, the little divine beast, growls low at the strangers. But the danger's over, this rescued group turns out to be the Katana Trading Company, and their man Eldon steps up to thank the warrior who just saved their lives with an awkward, grateful greeting. And here's the part that breaks them. Johann doesn't even ask for a reward. The traders stare, stunned that a noble who just wiped out a raid wants nothing. Then Johann just smiles and asks if next time somebody could lend him a shield. The tireless mercenary Saint Act, ruined by a man who'd really just like better gear. Johann stands with his people while a batch of scared soldiers wait under guard. Their leader is still barking, move it, you bastard, like he's the one in charge here. Johann cuts him off cold. Who are you? The soldiers start stammering out their story. They were the private soldiers of a family, and that family got wiped out. Johan takes it in without a flicker. He knows the type of men who show up after a slaughter with nothing left to lose. The way this crowd tells it, some noble executioner waded into the fight and the rest was easy. Johan just nods to his companion. Yeah, that sounds about right. Then he readies his weapon anyway, because the story isn't proof. That breaks the soldiers wide open. They drop, begging, "We're sorry, we've committed an unforgivable sin." And finally, the real story spills out. The Imperial Army hunted them down and branded them rebels. Now Johan, standing between his companion Valver, the priest, and these broken men, deciding to join forces so the survivors and his own group can stand together against the Imperial Army that hunted them. But one of the soldiers snaps. Raging so hard, Valver has to step in. "Oh dear, please calm down, sir." The man won't stop. Treason against the Emperor? From the start there was no treason at all. For the Emperor? What a load of bullshit, you bastard. He swears he could beat the man behind all this to death 100 times, and it still wouldn't be enough. Johan just stands there, letting the grief pour out. Years earlier, then Johan's mind slips back to how these men were really hunted down. They were interrogated for information, then discarded once it was extracted. In the dark, a cloaked figure moves in on them, calm as anything. "No, we've already gotten all the information we need." "Understood." And with the questioning done, the cloaked figure just starts killing. The first man barely gets a shriek out before the blade drops. He carves through them one after another, an upward slash, a full force strike, and stands over the fallen without a breath wasted. The rest beg, "Please spare our lives." It doesn't matter, they collapse and die in the snow, the survivors groaning in the cold while the flakes keep falling. Back in the now, one of Johan's own men steps up, gauntlet ready, offering to finish the prisoners on his word. An explosion tears the memory apart, and Johan flinches like he's been struck. He knows exactly what a man with a title does to helpless people, and that's why he won't give the order. One of Johan's men can't believe it. He points at the kneeling prisoners and blurts, "Why are you letting them live?" But these aren't just bandits. The deserters spill it all. The Imperial Army hunted them down as rebels, screaming treason, when there was never any treason at all. Johan already pulled every scrap of information he needed out of them, so instead of a death order, he makes them his. The soldier snaps to it. "Yes, Sir Johan," and just like that, Johan walks away with a fresh set of hands loyal to him. Watching all this from a rocky ledge is Katana, the divine beast Johan named himself. Red eyes glowing, she surveys the whole scene from above. On the road afterward, Katana travels with Eldens, the village chief merchant of the Katana Trading Company, and his group when a masked man tries to pull a dagger to attack them. But the assassination fails because Johan is right there as the noble escort riding with them, drawing his weapon in time. Word reaches an elder that Eldens and his company have arrived. Priest Valver, the one always disputing wolf legends, mutters a warning to a companion. "Watch your mouth about his majesty or you'll be in trouble." The elder sits and mulls the news over while a servant hovers behind him. And out in town, a bearded man goes sprinting past in a panic, as if word of the company's arrival is throwing the place into alarm. They keep marveling at the noble who rode with them, because even while fighting off the bandits, he protected the whole group without ever reaching for a reward. And that's the thing that stuns them, because a proper knight of this era was supposed to be strong enough to wipe out an entire mercenary band, and he did exactly that. Katana, meanwhile, is furious about the merchant trying to poach her human. "That shriveled bald head dares try to snatch my companion?" Then she watches Johan throw up an iron wall of a defense and goes quiet, impressed. Now the money split. Johan slumps against a tree, groaning, "Damn it, I'm starving to death." He's dead broke after paying everyone out. Then he opens his pouch and lights up. There's coin left. He drops to his knees, grinning wide, clutching it like it's the only thing he trusts in this world. For half a second he frowns, half tempted to raise the blade at the whole idea of sharing, then justifies it out loud. He already took his share properly. A part of him is still ranting that it's not fine, that all his hard-earned money got wasted. Then he pauses, and holds up a single silver coin like he just won a war. And that's the moment his men decide he's the real deal. "Sir Johan," one says, respectful now, praising him for caring about the men beneath him. True knightly dignity. Meanwhile, the knight in question is beaming over one coin. Johan's men hold their coin high in the great hall and cheer his name, fists in the air. They're shouting for the knight who actually shared with them. Then the noise cuts out and the celebration turns to slaughter. Johan closes his eyes in grim resignation as a masked figure's white blade and raking red claws cut through his cheering men, their screams rising as they fall. A voice calls up from outside a lit building. "Johan? Johan?" Johan stands there in the night, his cape torn and stained. He slips down through the dark, and when his face catches the moon, he's smiling, worn out but calm. A bearded man grins up at him. "Do you know me?" Then he laughs, boasting he knows exactly who Johan is, the noble who came through. The man says Eldens compensated him in his own way, and a coin changes hands. "Perfect timing," Johan mutters, dead exhausted. The man nods, and they part in the night. Back in the hall, a bald man is losing it, roaring that he's the only one who got nothing. He grabs at a servant, gauntlets up, snarling, "Damn it," his eye wild as he yanks at a scroll. Later, Johan finally sinks into a hot bath and lets out a long breath. Now I can finally relax, he sighs, amazed that something this simple can feel this good. He thinks back on sleeping rough with no roof over his head, how brutal that really was. Turning an apple in his hand, he admits his old life was hard too, but at least he had a place to be born into. Somewhere else, Kegel, the mystical guide, looms with his purple blade and murmurs that he wasn't the only victim, revealing he shares a grievance with others who've suffered, while a crowd of men cowers in fear before him. Back in the present, still soaking, Johan keeps chewing on his situation, muttering, well, still to himself. His mind drifts back to the leftover danger dogging him, the enemies still circling out there. Then something clicks and his hand goes to his chin. He remembers those men who tried to shake him down couldn't even stand up to Eldons of the Katana Trading Company. He thinks back to when he first learned how merchants really work. A powerful guild can bend politicians and nobles to its will, rally crowds, and seal deals under its own emblem. That lesson in greed hits home when a man in the dark, half-dressed and gripping a black sword, mutters about the fortune a blade like that can fetch, marking him as the kind of danger money attracts. That greed brings trouble to Johan's door. In the dark, a masked man creeps close, a purple gun in his bare hand, drawing it slow and quiet on him. But the instant the masked man reaches for Johan, everything goes wrong. Johan clamps a hand around the gun barrel, and the attacker's eyes blow wide with shock. Johan hurls him backward, cold blue eyes locked on the man, and drops him hard. The masked man scrambles, knife out, screaming, "Let go, you bastard, it does him no good." Johan slams him down with a grunt. The attacker clicks his tongue, then just wheezes on the ground as Johan keeps working him over. Johan stands over the broken man and wrenches the weapon away, disarming his attacker so he can end the fight for good. Elsewhere, someone creeps quietly up a wooden structure, sneaking in toward a target, then freezes and turns his head at a sound behind him. He's been noticed. We meet the crew fleeing the mess. Gamson, the youngest of the Johan mercenary group, Bullen, the strongest man in Loosback village, and Pell, a horse enthusiast from the same village. Pell soothes a spooked horse, whispering, "She, be a good boy." Then one of them jolts in alarm and starts gesturing wildly. He points and asks if they've ever seen a sword that cuts a man clean in half in one stroke. A blade with that kind of power, he says, would never come at an ordinary price. The three of them are still gawking about that impossible sword when something moves in the dark behind them. One peeks around the corner and goes pale. A blur drops out of nowhere and Gamson goes down hard. Pell screams his name over and over, but the youngest of the Johan mercenaries is already crumpling. A purple-cloaked attacker slams into them mid-air, and one of the crew knows right away, we're finished. A bald raider grabs him by the collar, demanding who they are. The guy just shrieks that it isn't him, it wasn't him, thrashing to get loose, desperate to prove he's not the one who struck Amson down before the raiders make him pay for it. Two of them make it onto horses and bolt into the night, one still yelling that he has no idea what's even happening. Then Pell twists around and shouts, "Where's Boolean?" Boolean, the strongest man in Loosback village, is still back there in it. The bald raider snarls at them to forget Boolean and ride, or they're all dead. The riders swallow it and keep moving. But one of them can't do it. He screams back about Boolean, wrestling to turn his horse around, refusing to leave him behind. Too late, the attacker cuts loose, daggers up in a red haze, and the two who stayed just cower and cling to each other as he looms over them. His hand comes down, eyes glowing, and that's the end of the ones who couldn't run. Somewhere far off, a recruiter's pitch drifts over the whole bloody mess. Join us. Years earlier, and here's why any of it happened. Two soldiers walk up to a tree with executed bodies swinging from it, one confirming the gallows post is solid. These were public hangings meant as a warning. The notice nailed to it says these people stole property belonging to a noble, stamped with the seal of the Holy Empire's emperor himself. One soldier asks what they even took to earn a rope. The answer, 1 chicken and 3 eggs. That's it. That's the whole crime hanging under the red sky. Someone gets grabbed by the throat, and back inside, Eldons of the Katana Trading Company hears all of this, and his face goes rigid with fury. Eldon's mouth drops open because his men are the ones caught up in it, and the young man just stands there, troubled, muttering, this time like he already knows how bad this is going to get. Eldon steadies himself, his face hardening into resolve as he glances back, the shock giving way to a decision, because these are his men on the line, and he's the one who has to act. Eldons of the Katana Trading Company snaps out orders fast. Bind Gamson immediately, he barks, trying to hand over one of his own before that noble makes the choice for him. Johan just watches, unimpressed, and asks if this is really how katana merchants handle a crisis. So calm, he says, like the calm itself worries him. Eldons won't back down. Eldons, won't die over something like this, he swears. And you can hear the fear stitched under the bravado. Then it spills into the open. A panicked young man in tan bolts through a dark corridor to escape, only to run straight into a blue-gray skinned man who blocks his path. And the shock on both their faces says there's no way out. Inside a cramped wooden room, the trapped families are losing it. What do you mean? What should we do? One man shouts, because nobody has an answer. Soldiers move to drag off a child, and a mother throws herself around him, screaming that they can't take him. A man gets slammed against the wall for getting in the way. So the villagers gather at a candlelit table and start plotting. We have to strike first, before that noble takes action, one insists, because waiting means the rope. They lay out exactly what that noble can do. He can hang their whole families, or take their immediate kin, and someone puts a knife to a throat just to make the stakes real. A woman and a man argue it out in the dark, both terrified. A scarred man leans in hard and says the noble will absolutely try to retaliate no matter what they do. He might cut off everyone's wrists, one warns, and no prestige on that noble's family will stop him. The room grinds tighter with every word. Someone finally cracks, roars in raw rage, and screams a curse across the table. The rest flinch back shocked because the plan just turned into a mob. Meanwhile, and here's where it stops being their problem and becomes Johan's. They gather at the base of a dark tree, and a red symbol burns to life above him, tying this whole scheme of retaliation to him now. Johan grips the wrapped bundle at his side and finally names the real cause. Seems like this all happened because the sword stood out, he mutters, and pulls the glowing blade free. The crowd recoils in shock at the sight of it, and Johan stands alone with the sword lit red, suddenly the center of everything he was trying to stay out of. So much for keeping his strength quiet. An old leader steps up smiling and blesses him in front of them all. Johan's face drops, because three hooded figures fold to their knees, treating him like the chosen one he never asked to be. He owns the mess anyway. My fault for failing to control those fools, he grumbles, now stuck commanding a cult-like band he never wanted. Their war with that noble is his to steer. Johan walks up under the big gate where the noble's men are holding things down, and he tries to end this clean. He tells his new followers to step back and be careful next time. But the noble Lord Atanka has no intention of letting go. He draws a dagger and cuts into one of the bound commoners, blood spraying, the man screaming. The crowd panics. This lunatic is making things worse, someone yells. Johan steps in fast, snapping that he wanted no bloodshed here. Atanka's own man begs him to stop, but Atanka only answers with steel, unloading a flurry of slashes straight at Johan. Johan takes the assault and holds, refusing to give ground even as Atanka presses harder to overpower him. Then Johan sets his stance and answers with a single brutal counter that cuts the exchange short, though it costs him a wound of his own. Atanka roars Johan's way and grabs his hilt in pure rage, ready for another go. But the fight's already decided. Johan's counter has landed a fatal blow, and Atanka freezes wide-eyed as his men behind him react with fury and alarm. That night, the whole crowd stands silent under the old tree, and Johan lets the anger out, shouting them all quiet. Then he cuts to the point that actually matters to him. Pay in money, he demands, and repeats it firmly. Nobody here dies over a chicken. He rephrases the whole thing on his own terms, sparing their lives by turning a death sentence into a fine. Release the 4 prisoners now, and everyone disperse. Relief breaks loose, a bald man throws his arms up in front of the crowd, a hooded woman sobs sorry over and over, and a man clutches a younger one, choking out thanks. The freed families kneel together, swearing they'll never forget this, as soldiers move to loosen the ropes. One of them stays defiant anyway, grumbling he got caught this time, but next time for sure. Someone tells him to relax his body. Johan just settles back into a ready stance, wound and all, still braced like the danger isn't over yet. But it's not over. The defiant prisoner won't sit still, and the noble Atanka draws steel anyway, coming at Johan with his blade up, forcing the wounded fighter back into a fight he thought was already won. Johan doesn't flinch. Wounded and all, he answers the swing with one brutal counter, driving his blade down with everything he has, and putting Atanka on the ground in a single stroke. He stands over the man, glaring at the rest. Do you even know what you're doing here? Then the wound catches up and his knees buckle, his body finally cashing the check the fight wrote. But instead of collapsing, something shifts in him, and to everyone watching, the bastard swordsman suddenly looks like something else entirely. The hooded woman gasps, and the cat creature beside her snarls, hackles up. As the sun sets, Johan stays on his feet over the man he just cut down, sword still in hand and breathing hard. The fight is over, and he's the one left standing. Then the mood breaks. Kan, the defiant one, still trying to protect his honor with his life, is suddenly weeping, and the whole crowd realizes it at once. Johan sways on his feet, wounded under the golden light, but holds the moment together. Kan is a noble. One man blurts, stunned. A noble is apologizing? The eye-patched man breaks into a sweat, hardly believing it. Johan flatly orders the dagger put away, and the eye-patched man stammers his apology and obeys. The cat creature panics and shrieks anyway, glaring bloody-eyed at this noble it can't figure out. On the road after, Johan rides with that cat creature and studies his loot. A fancy watch he grabbed off the plunder because it looked the priciest. Turns out it's broken. He can't believe it and holds it up baffled. A watch? Out here? Who has something this precious? His eyes drop to a bigger problem. A slave chained at wrist and leg. Worse kept than any he's seen. Leave him like this, Johan says plainly, and the man dies. Cold math, but it saves the guy. That night around the fire, the freed slave can't get over it. Never thought I'd eat meat and soup on the road, he says. All thanks to Sir Johan's share of the spoils. Then a servant calls out, holding the sword. Master. Johan turns to the former slave with a question. How does a man skilled with geography end up in chains? The answer isn't pretty. Johan pushes anyway, and the word noble stops him cold. Death penalty at least, Johan tells him. You're lucky you survived. But why would a weapons merchant smuggle at all? The man's face crumbles. I needed a lot of money, he confesses, to send to my family. He shows the hidden box of gold coins and tells the rest through tears. He kept delivering the gold the noble ordered him to hide, doing exactly as he was told, right up until the day that same noble reported him and threw him to the emperor's army. Right as the servant finishes his his story, the guards close in to drag him off. One of them is even wearing a fake mustache. The noble reported him and threw him to the emperor's army. But instead of judging him, Johann pulls the broken man into an embrace. "You have nothing to be sorry for," he tells him. "Don't worry about that in front of me." Then the talk turns to the road ahead. These aren't the rival house's soldiers chasing them, Johann learns. They're men who survived by robbing others. The servant panics, voice cracking. "I'm being chased by the emperor's army right now?" He cries, "I could die any time." Johann sets his jaw and cuts through the fear. "Now that we're comrades," he tells him, "don't die." That vow gets tested fast. They bolt as explosions rip up behind them and armored riders pour down from above. "Where is it?" Johann asks, meeting their escape route before the riders close in. That way his companion points. But it's too dark to see anything but red flashes cutting the black. Johann waves his men back. Away, he orders, then flat and calm, "It's fine. Put your weapons away." His men aren't sold. "We can't take any more risks," they warn, but Johann is already stepping toward the mystical red glow alone, because he knows exactly what's out there. It's definitely that bastard, Johann thinks, remembering the last time it attacked and nearly killed him. And then his face softens into a knowing smile. Sure, now he can face the thing that once nearly killed him. The creature roars, red energy blazing off it as it readies to attack. Johann speaks to the beast like an old friend. "Thanks for last time," he says. "I survived because of you." The creature answers with a strike anyway, and Johann takes the full weight of it head on. When the dust settles, he's still standing, facing it down. He turns away, the standoff broken, the great black wolf now trailing him instead of hunting him. Later, one of the trading company men, Eldens, watches this wolf pad along beside Johann and gets excited. "Right?" he presses. "This is the Guide of Dam." He recites the old story. In the Age of Great War, on a moonlit night, a warrior gave the wolf a name, and the wolf howled at the moon. Johann plays dumb. "Aren't you mistaking it for someone else?" he asks. But Eldens lays out the legend. The Guide of Dam comes from Eastern Empire folklore, punishing evil and bowing to a brave hero. And if you name the divine beast that follows you, it becomes your vassal. So Johann names him Katana, the divine beast. Eldens keeps quoting the old story, how the Guide of Dam punishes evil and bows to a brave hero. Johann just eyes the giant wolf and mutters, "So it really is that kind of being?" The wolf answers by roaring in his face, mouth wide, teeth out. Johann doesn't flinch, he just points and goes, "Hey, be a good boy." Eldens reads out the key line. "If you give a name to the divine beast that follows you, it becomes your vassal." A priestess leans in. "Sir Johann, have you given the Guide of Dam a name?" She pushes him, "Name it now, right now." "If the legend is true," she says, "something incredible will happen." Johann mulls it over, tries a few, and lands on Katana. In his first life, the second the name lands, everything stops. Hold on, someone breathes, because Johann feels something he's felt exactly once before, and his mind jumps straight to that memory. The naming works exactly as the legend promised. Purple and blue power erupts around the wolf as it transforms into the mythical beast, now bound to Johann as his vassal. He stands right in the middle of it, the force crackling off him. The energy pours off him and slams into the beast. And when it settles, the thing reaches out and touches him, instead of tearing him apart. Johann just stares, floored, and admits, "You were right, Eldens. This really is astonishing." From off in the dark, someone calls out, "What are you doing?" A ring of knights stands around a huge fallen creature, and one of them can barely get the words out. Everything is exactly like the folklore. It's his first time seeing a myth come real. The bound beast flares up one last time, cyan light everywhere, roaring and hurling that glowing energy right at the group in a final desperate lunge to break free. Johann throws his hands up, bracing to shield them from the blast. When the glow dies down, the massive wolf is gone. In its place sits a tiny blue puppy. Johann blinks. "You got smaller?" Then he grins. "If you're about that size, there probably won't be any problems." Cut to town, where the divine terror of legend is now getting cooed at. A woman gasps, "How cute, what a unique looking puppy, some foreign pet?" Johann's whole day of being touched by a myth, and this is what it comes to. The townsfolk apologize when the little beast snaps at Johann. "No manners on this one, sorry." But a woman scoops it up, says it's fine, and pets the Guide of Dam like a house dog. Then she pulls out coins and asks Johann, "Can we really buy it?" The woman holds out her coins, ready to buy the tiny puppy on the spot. Johann refuses the money, keeping the creature rather than selling off a beast whose true nature no one here suspects. With that dodged, Johann and Godin hit the shops for gear. He grabs a tactical bag, and Godin loads up a big supply backpack for the road ahead. Then Godin goes to work. He talks a completely shattered helm up like it's a treasure, and sells the wreck for a fortune, and throws in enough charm that the buyer tosses in a free mace on top. Johann watches, doing quiet math. If Godin can move a broken helm for that kind of coin, he thinks, then he's carrying a gold mine that walks. Impressed, Johann asks him straight, "So you really were a merchant? Did you like that old life?" Godin's face drops. He was a slave, he says, living day to day, never knowing when he might die. It's the first real crack in the man Johann just picked up. Johann doesn't dig further. He just tells him plainly, "I'll be counting on you from here on out, Godin," then claps his hands together. "Alright, now let's go explore Marseille," the city reference. That night they camp out under the sky, by, Johan wrecked and still wrapped in bandages from the wolf ordeal. When you've never had a real bed, even the dirt looks good. Come morning, they walk into Marcel's city square, big and bustling and weirdly calm. Johan takes it in and thinks, life is so peaceful here. But the calm doesn't sit right with him. He's scared of the news they'll hear tomorrow, because he knows the Empire is still out there hunting. Right on cue, the peace breaks. A cornered noble screams for mercy. I'd pay you later, do you know who I am? But the man he owes doesn't care one bit. An attacker lunges, weapon flashing fast, and the debtor goes down hard. Johan's blood runs cold, thinking they've tracked me all the way to Marcel. But it's not the Empire. Johan reads the fight in a blink and moves, dropping the attacker before he can turn on anyone else. He stands over the body, confused. I thought he was a bandit, he mutters. Was he just a common robber? A watching authority sets him straight. Security's fallen apart, so every kind of criminal is crawling out now. The rescued noble, Gessen, picks himself up and hails Johan like they're old friends. Watch yourself out there, wanderer, he says, clapping a hand on his shoulder in thanks. And the danger Johan actually fears is bigger than one back alley robber. His mind flashes to it, armies massing, masked figures closing in around fire, all wearing the Empire's mark. He knows that if the Empire catches wind of him, he can't stay in Marcel a day longer, because they're hunting him and won't stop. Everywhere he turns, there's nothing waiting but the chase. Then a voice snaps him back. Get a grip, Johan, you're still a fugitive. Whatever else this town offers, he has to stay hidden so nobody ever learns who he really is. So here's where our boy stands. Johan started as a powerless bastard noble, marked for death, and now he's clawed his way into Marcel with loot to sell and a plan to survive. And the one rule he keeps repeating to himself, the only way to make it here is a good relationship with the Katana Trading Company. Johan counts his luck. Eldens thinks highly of him, so he's got a foot in the door with the Marcel branch. But then his face darkens on one word. But, because the Empire is still hunting him, so he swears it flat out, absolutely not. His real identity stays buried until the company fully trusts him. A maid steps up and confirms it. Are you Sir Johan? She introduces herself as an exclusive maid of the Katana Trading Company, name of Ibelka. Johan can barely believe he's here. I finally made it, he thinks. This place could be my chance to change my whole life. The branch manager greets him, a cat-like woman who says she's heard all about him from Eldens. Johan gives his cover name, Johan of House Yates, one letter off his real House Eats, a house nobody has ever heard of. And they trade pleasantries. He sips what he's handed and quietly notes it's coffee of all things. Then the manager leans in, all charm, and starts talking him up, sizing him up as someone worth winning over. She recounts his deeds, how he protected innocents and spared enemies who surrendered, and came to a Marcel crawling with bandits. And she says she read his ambition clean off him. He wants to save this city with his own hands. Then she drops the bait. If he wishes, they can introduce him to Marcel's governor himself. Johan nearly jumps out of his skin. The governor? He's basically on the mayor's level. Get the company and the mayor on my side? His greed does the math instantly. I have to accept this no matter what. She sweetens it further. Restaurants, inns, entertainment, all under the Katana name, all his to enjoy. In exchange, he fights under the company banner whenever they call. The contract lands, and just like that, Johan is sponsored the moment he walks into town. But there's a catch. She says the Oak Tree mercenaries already left for one job, so they want him for something else instead. She smiles, and the charm turns cold. The louder the shopkeepers complain, she explains, the harder they are to manage, so the company leverages exactly that. Johan goes quiet, doing the math on where this is heading, realizing the job they want him for means squeezing the very shopkeepers whose complaints they're exploiting. Then his face turns to stone. He walks off through the cathedral toward the light, out onto the roof, the whole city burning red under the sunset, while he weighs it. One foot steps forward, his jaw tight, and he says it out loud. Instead of settling this by talking, he asks flat, "You want me to kill them?" Johan wants the exact shape of what she's asking, so he presses her. The children too? She doesn't flinch, so he draws the line hard. He flat out refuses, telling her he won't butcher innocent people, not for her or her company. And that answer lands like a slap. But the woman's charm curdles into pure shock that anyone would say no to the Katana Trading Company. But somehow, Johan still walks away sponsored, his refusal not costing him the deal after all. He stands there gazing up, telling himself that happy life he's been dreaming of finally isn't far away. He grips his own fists tight, holding onto that hope like it might slip. Then reality answers him. Flies settle on a corpse. A body lies face down in blood-stained dirt, and a whole crowd is gathering around, more of them scattered in the open. Johan's eyes go wide with horror as someone beside him breaks down. He pushes into the crowd, staring at the dead, and demands to know why there are bodies just lying out in the street. Someone grimaces and answers him plain, "It's the bandits around Marcel, and they've been getting bolder and more violent by the day." Johan snaps, teeth clenched, furious that these bandits are wrecking everything, just as his new life was coming together. He wants to know what those Oak Tree mercenaries are even doing while the corpses pile up. Inside the branch, that question gets answered. A frightened servant runs to Ion, the Katana Company's branch manager, about the merchant bodies the bandits keep sending back. And the news gets worse. They can't reach the Oak Tree mercenaries at all. Their liaison turned up dead in the forest outside the city yesterday. Then the real gut punch. The Oak Tree crew has the fighting strength of a whole city, and they're led by a man called the Mage of the Ifeal River. They spell out who he is. He was the Emperor's own hunting dog, and he ran. Now Ion realizes that fugitive mage is hiding right inside Marcel's coffers. And speak of the devil, a servant welcomes a white-haired old man into the branch as Lord Suedelga, offering to fetch Ion Ion, but the old man waves it off. This Suetelga talks to himself like he's listening to something no one else hears, the voice of the Ifjall River, and he murmurs that at last, today is the day. Meanwhile, Johan strolls the stone halls plotting his climb, planning to get on the governor's good side and settle in Marcel for good. Then he stops, kicking himself that he should have asked Eon what the governor even likes. Karamaf, his little companion, suddenly bristles and hisses at someone. The old man Suetelga just freezes, hand over his mouth, staring. Suetelga asks who he is, since Johan clearly doesn't recognize him, then simply gives his name. But Johan kneels down, and it clicks. This old man is a real sage, a mage, and the truth hits him like lightning. This world actually has magic. Johan drops into a deep bow, practically buzzing, and tells Suetelga it's an honor to meet him. Suetelga just smirks. He points out how funny it is that a man hunted by the Emperor himself has landed so comfortably. Then he explains where his power comes from. All of it, he says, flows from the mystery of the Isekai River. Johan tenses and asks the real question, careful and quiet. Is the old man going to report him to the Emperor? Suetelga waves it off. He is one of the few who knows the secrets of the Isekai River, and fate brought them together, so he's willing to share what he knows. Johan's eyes go wide. A living sage offering up the secrets of magic for free, and every greedy instinct in him lights up at once. He plays it cool, agreeing it's fate that brought them here, then strikes, blasting the old man with magical force to tear those secrets out of him instead of asking. And here the scene shifts into how Johan actually pries the man open. Suetelga muses that the game of kings is fun, but nothing compares to the game of gods. Two little pouches spill open across the floor, pieces scattering. Johan stares, stunned by what he's looking at. Suetelga sets it up like it's nothing. He asks if it looks complicated, then promises to go easy on him. Johan grins to himself. Luck is on his side yet again. He wins, holds up his little proof of victory, and clocks exactly how good the old man really is. 4th Dan, master level, no joke. But the score doesn't matter to Johan. He tells himself flat out he's going to make this old sage's magic knowledge his own. So he plays the perfect student. Suetelga leans over the board, begging to take back a few moves, and Johan just butters him up, saying it's only because Suetelga teaches so well. Every loss the old man swallows, he pays for in secrets. Suetelga starts explaining what mages actually are, people who find the hidden mysteries buried in nature. Some find them in the wind, others in fire, and those discovered mysteries have a name. They're called spirits. And the best part, Suetelga says, is that spirits usually just lend their power freely, asking nothing in return. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the branch, a maid snaps at a cat-eared servant for not reporting sooner. The servant shrinks back, saying the old guest insisted they tell no one. Back at the board, Johan pleads to take back just one move, and Suetelga wavers, tempted to let him. Then Suetelga hardens up and refuses. Accept your loss already, he tells him. That's when the cat-eared woman bursts in, thrilled to find Suetelga here, scolding him for not calling on her the moment he reached Marcel. She laughs and explains she'd just been passing time playing a few games with this knight, and Johan, sensing the ground shift under him, tenses up and asks what exactly these two are to each other. Suetelga slides 2 magic water flasks across to Johan, grinning. He kept his promise from the game. These hold the final secrets of the Isekai River. He names them. One is the water of wrath, the other the water of blessing, and Johan just quietly won them off an old man at a board game. Then the story cuts away to what these flasks actually mean. Somewhere out on a road, armed men rush a lone figure with weapons raised, laughing like they've cornered easy prey, and the victim's eyes go wide with shock as an ambush closes in. Their blades come down all at once, but the instant they land, one of them freezes and blurts it out. She's not a bandit. Rain and moonlight fall on the woman they just attacked as she stops being a woman at all. She transforms, and a massive clawed hand tears out of the dark, meaning the 3 who struck her have just provoked something far deadlier than a bandit. Back in the present, that's the secret that Isekai River has kept since ancient times. And back in the commercial hub, the buyer holding a red potion finally exhales, thrilled. Magic items really exist, and now he can rest easy. But the trading company summoned a sage over something bigger than potions. Ion confirms it. He called the man here because of a prophecy. The sage recites it. Southeast of Marcel, the will of the oak tree gets trampled by a rock of steel, cut down behind a veil, failing to stop the flames that swallow the city. And it's already happening. Word comes in that the oak tree mercenaries actually lost a bandit, so someone calls for a city council meeting. That meeting is where the real board game starts. Baron Einbeck Vivant Auvergne takes his seat, and Vilico Traniani, the governor of Marcel, opens the floor to every powerful family in the city. One noble cuts straight to it. The mercenaries the trading company hired failed against the bandits, and he insists this whole mess should have been settled cleanly. And that one failure splits the room down the middle. One side cheers, the anti-emperor faction, the other side erupts, screaming that his words are outright blasphemy. The hall dissolves into shouting, everyone at everyone's throat, the two factions now openly at war over the emperor, as the governor just stands silent in the middle of it, letting the room tear itself apart. Then Vilico clears his throat, and the noise drops. He lays out his answer: raise a second subjugation force to finish the bandits. The nobles recoil, one of them shouting it back in disbelief, but Vilico just smiles, eyes shut, soaking up the flattery, as another noble calls him wise and starts praising the emperor. The man planned this fight before he ever walked in, so the drunken lord, terrified he's about to be handed to the emperor, gets a lifeline from the white-haired elf beside him. The elf raises a bottle and beams. Perfect timing. I've got some liquor from your house. He sets out fancy little dishes and pours a glass, all warm and homey. You must miss home, he says. The lord chokes up a thank you and knocks it back. back. Whoa, this brings back memories, the Lord sighs. Then the elf's voice shifts, softer, heavier. By the way, I heard the Emperor's cold blade swept across the north. And now we're back in that burning north. An entire territory purged in the Emperor's fire. The same slaughter that emptied the Lord's homeland. The elf stands amid the flames, staring. Then goes on. Unfortunately, many houses were purged. They say that house... His eyes bleed red as the sentence cuts off. Johann just laughs it off with a wave. It's nothing, don't worry about it. But the elf leans in, holding up the bottle. That reminds me, Sir Johann, what you just drank wasn't your house Yite's date palm liquor. The elf drops his friendly act. One eye flares red and burning scarlet marks blaze across his face and body, revealing him as no ordinary drinking companion, but something far more dangerous, now turning on Johann. Red energy pours down onto Johann where he lies, and hands cradle a dark glowing orb near the floor. The elf rises, dead certain, I won't hand you over to the Emperor. He lays out his real game. This city could swing pro-emperor or anti-emperor, nobody knows which. I'll use the balance between them, he says, to wipe them out. Then his power detonates in raw red lightning. Johann crashes to his knees on cold stone, blue marks whirling around him as the elf's power pours into his body. Later, cut forward and a masked Johann is carving through monsters, fists up, roaring about force. Whatever the elf gave him, it works. On a fortress wall, two men watch a huge army marching in. One eyes the fighters and mutters, powerful warriors, all in one place. Are they famous? They are. The Saint Iena monastery rolls up, a female-led order of holy knights, and beside them come the dwarves. All honor and loyalty, though there's a very loud but hanging off that. Quick catch up on where our boy stands. Johann is still climbing, still nobody. A bastard noble with borrowed power and a mask, hiring himself out one bloody job at a time. Right now, he's under Ion's banner, and the muscle is rolling in. 5 holy knights of the Saint Iena monastery march up in tight formation, that female-led order everyone's whispering about. Up on the fortress wall, Johann takes a breath and thinks, alright, let me get a good look at the people I'll be fighting alongside. A big muscular warrior spots the branch manager and lights up, booming out, Lady Ion. She turns to Johann and tells him to speak comfortably, drop the formality. He respectfully refuses, since he won't talk casual to the captain of the force. An older officer asks how the holy knights plan to move, and the priestess confirms they'll ride with Captain Kumal's men. Then Gustav, a knight out of Count Bartok's house, waves the whole thing off. His men alone will more than suffice, he says, and his soldiers nod along that the Count sent them for a reason. Johann steps forward and introduces himself, plain as anything. I'm Johann of House Yates. Gustav looks him up and down and doesn't even pretend to care. He can't be bothered with some lowly house like his. So the group moves off in silence, and Johann just files it away. Still, with this lineup, he figures they should wipe the bandits out, even if the elf allies are goddamn obnoxious. Gustav's mood, meanwhile, is sunshine. Okay, this battle might actually go well. Then one of Johann's men cuts in that someone wants to meet him. And beyond the wall, the target finally comes into view. A huge bandit camp, tents and fires everywhere. The very enemy they've been sent to wipe out, with the leader inside toasting his own victory. Now to that mystery visitor, Johann stands ready indoors, guard up, watching an older man settled at a table who muses that a formal ceremony only implies a lack of trust. The stranger grins wide, pours a drink with a flourish, and says the real reason for doubt is always money. Johann asks flat out who he even is and why he's being so rude, and the man just laughs it off. Then he drops the mask. Against a red crest, he names himself Baron Einbeck and calls himself a loyal subordinate. He pauses, choosing his next words, sips his drink and offers what he calls a life lesson. Here's his lesson. He looked into Johann and he couldn't find a thing. No house, no identity, nothing that adds up. And the way he says it, Johann realizes the same blank applies to Einbeck himself. That's the tell. Johann's power surges as he rejects the whole act cold. What use, he presses, is a nameless house to a trading company? What do you actually want from me? And for the first time, the smooth-talking Baron hesitates, no clever answer ready. The kneeling Baron finally lays it out. Bow to the Emperor, he says, and Johann gets formal knighthood. Einbeck grins wide, sure he's dangling the one prize a nameless bastard can't refuse. Months earlier, but Johann doesn't bite. He tells Einbeck a story instead, a warning wrapped in a memory. A few months back, a man walked in claiming the Emperor's command, and Johann cut him down for it. That man was Karamaf, the Emperor's own direct knight, and Johann says it flat. He crushed the man's head himself. He killed him for the serfs Karamaf treated like worms and scattered across the dirt. Einbeck's whole face drops. Karamaf is dead? He can't process it. This nameless nobody killed one of the Emperor's key powers. Then Johann shows him why nobody is safe from him. His bare hand closes on the pewter cup and the table under it, and both just cave in like paper, proof he can crush a man's skull as easily. And Johann turns away with the only reason he ever needed. Not for the Empire, not for glory. For myself, he thinks. That's the whole creed. Someone else isn't so calm. A man seethes, calling Johann a bastard, raging that he thinks he can say anything and get his way. Then something turns. A serpentine pattern crawls up across the man's body, and one eye burns bright as some power activates. And a pale hand reaches down for the red-haired man, who flinches away in fear of what's coming. The man ends up broken on the floor, cursing into the ground. Damn it, he spits. To think I'd be taken down like this. A huge red-orange shape looms over him as he fades. Elsewhere, the mood swings hard the other way. A pack of women fuss over someone, teasing him, calling him skinny, asking if he's a mercenary too. But Swedelga, the visiting trader, is not enjoying the tour. The place terrifies him and he keeps calling out for Johan. Let's just go back, he begs. This is too scary. Then something grabs Swedelga from below and yanks him up. He panics, screaming Johan's name, pointing, saying Johan looks like he's in trouble. Whoever's holding him tries to steady him. Get a hold of yourself, they urge. Please calm down. And there's Johan, breathing hard, worn down and bleeding from the fight he just walked out of. Swedelga shoves a red potion at Johan, all urgency. Drink it fast, he begs, thrusting the healing bottle into the worn-out knight's hands. They slump down to catch their breath, and Swedelga can barely get the words out. Back in that corridor, he says, I only lived because of you. Johan waves it off with a tired laugh. Enough gratitude, that's plenty. Then Johan tells him how it went sideways. By the time he reached the spot, he says, the man had already bolted. Empty room, no target. Cut to that fight breaking loose. A man roars, furious, and levels an accusation at two others squared up against him. You dare poison the liquor, he screams. Someone turns over a red glowing seal, examining it, and a white dagger comes up stained dark, the proof of who poisoned the liquor, the thread everyone's chasing. A man leans in and asks the question hanging over all of it. Is it like the rumors say, he presses? Does it prove the emperor hired the bandits? The answer is flat. No. Later, a rider tears off through the storm, sword out, cutting down whatever stands in his way to force his way clear. Good, he breathes. At a camp gate, soldiers throw it open. Make way, the baron is here. He rides in and the nobles line up to welcome him. But a row of armored soldiers stands cut open, slashed and bleeding, and Einbeck towers over the fallen, cape snapping in the wind. We, he shouts, rallying whoever's left standing. Up on higher ground, a hooded figure looks down at a crowd of armored men, mouth splitting into a manic grin. And also the figure adds, drawing the whole camp's attention. Below, a missile slams down, and the speaker scoffs at whoever thought they were nothing. You took me for some ordinary mage, she says. It's so absurd I could laugh. I am an imperial court mage the emperor himself favors. Her eyes flare, and the name lands. Janina, imperial court mage. When a man notes she carries no weapons, she just smiles. Of course I don't. A bearded man goes pale, whispering the words nobody wanted to hear. Living weapons. Glowing green blades bloom out of thin air around Janina, conjured magic she can wield without ever carrying a physical weapon. Marking her as a deadly threat the soldiers can't fight normally. Janina channels a huge construct between her hands, and when he stammers the question, she answers with one cold word, yes. And somewhere in the chaos, Janina's troll rips into a man with its claws. Red energy crackling off its huge frame as he recoils in pure terror. Proof the beast obeys her and will kill on command. Janina coos at her troll like it's a pet. Now my adorable troll, then drops the real line. Tomorrow is the day. Someone's face tightens, because whatever tomorrow brings, it isn't good. Cut to a crowd roaring, long live the emperor at a big parade, and Johan stands in profile through it, calm and set on something. He gets handed a sealed document with a hard order. Deliver this to Velako Tranieni, and don't tell anyone else. Johan turns the red seal over, thinking this is something the man absolutely has to verify himself. Nearby, Philip, the lending brother, pulls two mercenaries aside for a quiet word. Johan and Ken, come over here for a moment. Then Philip presses someone straight. Why are you trying to save that knight, and what is it you wish to do? Johan realizes he's been a pawn in someone's puppet master scheme. The hidden hand pulling the strings finally laid bare to him. His face twists, shocked and pained, and he grips what he's holding hard as the betrayal sinks in. Later, armies stand arrayed across the field under their banners. A name tag call goes out. Lord Johan, identified and in position. Before he moves, Johan says his goodbyes, wishing them luck and asking someone to take good care of Swelga. He clasps hands with a robed figure, a promise sealed. Then the command drops. All troops move and the soldiers surge. Johan charges with the purple-clad mercenaries straight at the enemy fortifications. Elsewhere, a noble holds a letter, a cat servant at his side, cursing the timing. Of all days, this trouble had to hit right before deployment. He studies the crest and the contents, and the picture forms. Someone's been framed to look guilty of everything, and the crest points at Baron Einbeck. But a report lands like a slammed door. They went to arrest Einbeck, and he'd already fled the city, and the noble still won't trust that young knight either. Over in the pro-emperor camp, Einbeck gets his own messenger's word and grins, barking at his men to make sure the trap works without fail. He just has to wait for the victory report. But someone eyes him and asks why he looks so pale. Einbeck waves it off. No need to worry, though the color in his face says otherwise. Angry, tense, Einbeck broods, then floats the fear he can't shake. Maybe something's gone wrong on the expedition, and his whole trap is already unraveling. Someone in the enemy camp brags about Karamaf, the Empire's strongest swordsman, wrapped head to toe in legendary gear, and he laughs off the man who tried to fool him. No lowborn dares deceive me. I killed him. Out on the field, Johan rides across ground already picked clean. Gustav's unit swept through here, he notes, watching one of his own men blow apart a target below with a polearm. Johan calls down to the dwarf soldiers, finally catching up. You're slow as hell, as expected from dwarves. One of them snaps back, glaring up at him, and the two square off on the ground. Orders come down to lead the main force after the fleeing bandit. The cavalry charges, the enemy scatters in panic, and the field turns into a rout. But Johan reins in and studies the aftermath. Not one elf body among the dead. It's like the elves didn't take a single casualty, he mutters. Then it lands. It's a trap. He orders the column to hold and check the pass before crossing. From above, the map tells the truth. Enemies closing in from every direction, boxing his people in. His banner gets cut down. Johan makes the call he hates, thinking if trading his honor buys their lives, so be it. A bearded man laughs at his side while Johan's face twists with disgust. Armored riders brace as the trap diagram snaps into place, and 3 of his men go pale with alarm. Johan gives the order. All troops, defensive formation. His soldiers lock together behind big red shields, but the collision they braced for hits head-on anyway. One armored torso simply splits apart from the impact. A dark-skinned warrior with a bow and an axeman rally the line. Take aim, the call goes out, and the cannons open up as shells burst across the field. But a massive armored figure walks straight into the cannon fire and shrugs it off unharmed, proving their heaviest weapons can't even scratch it. 2 soldiers stare in horror, its eyes burning red as it grimaces down at them. Elsewhere, a man sits in an ornate chair, fist clenched tight. His people brief him on the mercenary corps that's tearing through everything. One of them names it an all-elf mercenary group called the Wolves of Aquitaine, feared even among mercenaries. He demands everything they know, and the briefing begins. The briefing keeps going, and the brown-haired scout lays out how the Wolves of Aquitaine fight. They punch straight through a line with penetration tactics, he says, never spreading out. Johan clocks it right away and calls it what it is, Germany's blitz tactics from World War II. The blonde man beside him confirms it. That's exactly how they move. So the scout's advice is blunt. If they run into the wolves tomorrow, Johan should retreat no matter what. Whatever he does, avoid a head-on clash. Because it's not just the mercenaries they'd be facing, there's a monster traveling with the wolves. A dark armored beast so dangerous the scout can barely bring himself to finish the warning. He spells it out. Massive body, overwhelming strength, and worst of all, intelligence close to a human's. Countless warriors and knights already challenged it, and none of them came back. Johan cuts him off. He was planning to ask for their help anyway, but turning to the 2 soldiers with him, Johan and Can, he says he appreciates the loyalty and wants something else from them entirely. Later, on the battlefield now, 2 men look up at something screaming across the sky. A masked warrior takes brutal hits, screaming as he defends, while a voice roars for the bullhead mercenaries to prepare to charge. The monster brings its massive claws and horns down, and the masked warrior barely gets his weapon up to block. That's Johan under the mask, holding the strike. The mercenaries in maroon armor charge in behind him, but the monster stands tall over the wreckage. Weapon raised, still winning. The armored soldiers plant their feet and brace. This is the Numeros fight, and it's turned into exactly what everyone feared. The demon tier monster roars, glowing-eyed, and swings with everything, while the whole army swarms it at once. Wave after wave of soldiers crash into the demon on the sand as it comes down on them. Johan, still masked, grits it out to himself. They prepared in advance, and it still became a frontal collision anyway. So Johan rides forward as the heavyset commander waves from the fortified line, and the cavalry breaks into a full charge. He rallies them by name, warriors of the Red Iron Mercenaries. The commander swears the enemy will learn what defiance costs. The demon just sneers at Johan closing in, spitting that if he's that desperate to die, fine, and Johan drives his strike straight into it. Quick catch-up. Johan started as a powerless bastard nobody, and now he's leading mercenaries into a pitched battle against monster-tier enemies, still hiding just how dangerous he really is. His strike lands clean, and for the first time the demon reels in shock. It isn't used to anything actually being able to hurt it, and that means Johan can win this. A soldier beside him just gapes at the impact, no idea what he's even watching. But the enemy leader in armor gets it fast, and he panics, snarling that Johan realized something. What Johan spotted is a weakness, and he doesn't wait. His footwork shifts, and he moves in for the next phase, hunting the opening he just found. Now we meet the enemy captain proper, Numeros, captain of the 100 of the Bullhead Mercenaries, a hulking minotaur of a thing. One swing, and he sends a warrior flying clean off his feet. Numeros rides another bull-headed beast and taunts the field, bragging that their leaders got conquered, their squad captains got beaten. He's rubbing it in. Then a knight on a white horse rides up on him. Numeros' army spread out behind. The minotaur snarls at him to get off the horse. Numeros promises to chop him into pieces, and the knight just dismounts and readies himself, instead of running. The minotaur throws in one more insult, swearing if he wins, he'll boil the knight's tail into stew. The knight's answer is short, "Come at me." They collide, and the knight reads the exchange, waits, then lands a crushing blow right on Numeros, winning the duel and settling their standoff by force. The hit throws the giant minotaur backward, and Numeros crashes to the ground, dropped by the very knight he was about to make soup out of. Back on Johan's side of the fight, the beast catches him clean and sends him flying backward through the rubble. He gets his weapons up fast and blocks the next assault before it caves his head in. They grind together, and the beast throws its arms up in triumph as it drives Johan down, pinning him low beneath it and leaving him at its mercy. Bleeding and refusing to fold, Johan swings back anyway, but the beast pulls off something he never saw coming, and he spits out a curse as the fight turns against him. But that scramble is exactly what he wanted. The beast gets lifted up off balance, and Johan is right below it in attack stance. He shouts an opening and pours everything into it, rapid strike after rapid strike, hammering the thing. His weapon lands with real force, and he drives it down in one finishing blow straight into the beast. The strikes connect in a fast chain, and a close look at the beast's face shows nothing but pain now, all its confidence gone. When it settles, both of them are torn up and bloody, but Johan is the one still standing over the wreckage. Meanwhile, the mercenary captain punches through his own opponents, pinning one to the dirt and sneering that these enemies are just shithead mercenaries, all mouth and no spine. Elsewhere, the hooded bullhead mercenaries throw themselves into the fight, their leader barking the order to begin. One armored warrior swings with everything he has, while the hooded fighters close in fast. The armored warrior charges, screaming that he'll crush them, and the two sides slam together at full force. This is the clash that decides who breaks through and who falls, and nobody's holding back. But their captain Numeros tears through the line. He grabs a foe, hurls another back, and stands over the wreck of his enemies, calling one of his own brothers back to his feet. These are the bullhead mercenaries, and their captain Numeros swears he'll crush that night bastard himself. His mace fires off with a heavy discharge as he means it. Cut to Johan, sitting quiet in a wagon, saying nothing at all. Then we snap to him surrounded by armed troops on his knees begging. He whimpers that he's sorry he mouthed off and please just spare his life. Then Johan turns away from them mid-grovel, muttering, "What are you all even talking about?" dropping the act now that he senses a way out. He turns sharply, realizing something a second before it lands. A massive horned beast's head fills the view, and a soldier next to Johan just chants, "We're screwed, we're screwed." Johan raises his weapon and snarls at the thing, "And you bone broth gift set." His face drops though as he realizes what he's up against, and he blurts out that there's something he needs the beast to witness. The thing only answers with a roar. A red symbol flares in the sky, the signal that reinforcements or the plan are almost ready, and Johan tells the soldiers they just have to hold on until then. Right on cue, the beast recoils in pain, gasping that it can't be, as strange energy wraps around it and begins to bind it. The soldiers pile on, grabbing and clinging to the monster as it thrashes through the chaos. They only have to hold it, and they do. Later, inside the Katana trading company Marcel, the city reference branch, a woman laughs off some news while the man across from her looks anything but amused. He says gravely that he heard it too, the elf knights. A subordinate reports they've lost contact with those knights entirely, meaning the elf knights sent out are now missing, likely dead. "What did you say?" someone snaps back, "because that isn't supposed to happen." He explains, an ordinary bandit gang would be nothing, but just like Johan claimed, these were mercenaries hiding what they really were. A document sits on the table between them. Then the real report lands. The bullhead mercenaries confess to everything. They said it was all done at the instigation of the Baron of Ainbek, the loyal Baron. Someone asks the captain of the 100 of the bullheads, "You mean that Minotaur?" And the answer comes back cold, that there really is someone who pulled off exactly that absurd thing. Back in the present, we open on one lone figure standing against a whole mercenary army, and that figure is Johan, weapon already up. Back at the outpost, Johan returns from a long, brutal road, having survived the fight against the whole mercenary army, and the camp elder Robert greets him and urges him to rest instead of getting up. Johan waves off the modest act and demands more. "Don't exaggerate," he says. "Praise me more, and praise the warriors who fought beside me." The warriors stand ready around him while a bearded man leans in, and priests cross their arms and pour blessings over the returning fighters. Johan grins and brushes off the monster he beat, saying once he actually fought it, the thing wasn't much. The priest cautions that even for them, a head-on fight is no small thing. But the memory of the corrupted beast still haunts him, and Johan calmly says that respecting an enemy's life is a rare virtue, a sign he refuses to gloat over the creature he killed. A wizard presses him, slaughtered on the battlefield. The priest and a stout companion stand triumphant beside him as the story of the wind spreads. Then we cut to a memory of the real fight. Johan on his knees before a cloaked figure, begging, "Please send reinforcements." And the reinforcements come. His plea answered as 3 glowing weapons scream down through the dark forest sky, cutting through waves of mystical water and slamming into the earth with a massive white burst that signals help has finally arrived. The shockwave rips across the ground, and behind it a whole army of armored soldiers charges in, 3 glowing figures leading them from above. The 3 armored knights leap into the enemy ranks. One white helmeted knight drops straight onto a panicked soldier and slams him down with the flat of a sword. Another enemy is hurled backward, weapon crushed against his chest as explosions bloom across the field and the mercenary line breaks apart. When the dust clears, one cloaked figure stands alone on the desolate snowy ground, chest heaving. The mercenary line is wiped out and the battle is won. But it isn't over. A monster lashes out with red energy claws, and a soldier cries out, "Sir Johan, please help." The claw comes down hard, but Johan throws his sword up and catches the whole attack, planting himself between the beast and the man. The knights barely have time to breathe before the ground splits open. A troll heaves itself up out of the dirt roaring, and the nearest soldier stumbles back. What was that? The thing's head snaps up, eyes burning yellow, and it opens its maw wide to bellow across the field. One knight drops to a wounded knee, bracing himself, and mutters, "Set." Everyone here knows the truth about trolls. Without a god's help, this is close to a death sentence, because a troll's hide is tougher than rock. The first knight to swing gets swatted clean off his feet. It's the sheer size that does it. The strength coming off the beast is more than any human body is built to take, and its blows carve through the knight's line, scattering the soldiers who can't hope to endure a single hit. So the warriors do the only thing left, guarding hard against the claw clawed creatures beside the troll. A blade finally lands and bites into one, yellow eye glaring. But the wound just knit shut like nothing happened. That's the nightmare with these things. You pierce hide and muscle, and it heals instantly, so you can't actually kill it. A crossbowman fires bolt after bolt and watches them do nothing against the healing creatures. This cannot be real, he breathes, realizing their weapons can't stop the claws that keep raking through them. Someone turns to the elf beside them and asks it straight, "Sister, will you go rescue the men who got cut off?" She answers without softening it. They've already entered their eternal rest. A blonde warrior hears that and just breaks, gutted, and a bearded companion throws an arm across him, like he might charge in and die too. They turn to their commander, Captain Kuma, the men call, the blonde elf standing at his side, morale bleeding out of the whole company. Kumal's answer is grim. "Leave me behind, take the men and go." The elf stands apart, hands clasped in prayer over the soldiers she couldn't save. A quiet admission that the company is taking losses it can't recover. Somewhere quieter, a candle is lit, and Johan is deep in a very different conversation about the city magistrate and who really pulls the strings here. A masked man reports the bad news to him. They never pulled in the main punitive force, and the bullhead mercenaries just surrendered. Word is a serious chunk of the Emperor's gold got spent buying those men. Johan asks the obvious thing. Why fighters that expensive would fold this easily? The masked man shrugs it off. The bullheads were disposable from the start anyway. Then someone spots a green seal stamped with a tree emblem and asks whose mark it is, a clue to who's really backing this move. The masked man brushes off the worry, saying the real plan lies elsewhere. He smiles a little too easily, turning a glowing coin over in his fingers. Johan takes the hint. Then, well, there's nothing to worry about. Out on the field, a priest raises a spell that lights up green and slams down on the monsters. This is Valver, the monastery priest, and he tells them the magic has been passed down for generations, made for exterminating monsters. They need it because their real problem is a troll. A troll heals almost anything, but this holy fire, Iena's flame, shuts that healing right down. The bigger the spell, the slower the casting, but the fire has one nasty rule. The flame doesn't go out, not even underwater, and it burns whatever it grabs to the very end. So the troll gets caught and cooked alive, screaming as the green fire eats through it. Riding through the rain, Valver praises the caster, genuinely impressed by holy magic, doing what steel never could. For a second, it feels like they've got this handled. Then a dog starts barking, sharp and panicked, and someone spots that Karamaf, the Holy Empire's man, has found something up ahead. Karamaf reaches a glowing structure and freezes. He stares at a line of horses and demands to know why the Elf Knight's horses are here. Valver's face drops, holy fire torch in hand. As the meaning hits him, it means those knights are still alive, and they're already moving. The mounted Elf Knights charge in and cut into them, and Valver cries out, calling a name, Valian, as the ambush lands. In the ruined future, whatever they built glows brighter, pulling souls through the holy fire, a voice murmuring that there are souls longing for the hand of salvation. Then the soldiers get boxed in by green energy with a creature at the center. One warrior refuses to fold. He throws a fist straight into the beast's open jaws and hammers it, driving forward even as those claws come for him. The beast reels back bleeding, and he presses in with a clean cutting strike. Blades out, teeth gritted through the strain. His face is all exhaustion now, but the beast is worse, torn open with deep wounds, and one last blow drops it. This monster at least goes down. But he looks around at the wreckage and the fallen, and the soldier's morale is already gone. He stands alone in the rain, spent, staring down at what's left of the fight. So he makes the call nobody wants to hear. "Leave me behind," he says, "take the men and get out." And the field answers him fast, because another beast is already rising. Its head lifts, red energy pouring off it, jaws opening for him. He looks up at the thing bearing down, no men left to save him, and draws his glowing blade one more time to meet it alone. Quick catch-up. Johan, the reborn bastard, clawing for money and a knight's title, took a monster hunting contract to build his name. Now he's alone in the rain, men gone, fighting a troll that heals faster than he can cut it. He takes a hit that nearly folds him, then drives his blade straight down into the beast with everything he's got. The creature answers with a wave of raw force, and Johan just plants his feet and eats it, refusing to fall. He keeps grinding it down until the thing finally buckles and drops. One more monster dead, but he's screaming for the survivors to move, get out while they still can. Meanwhile, away from the blood, at the Katana Trading Company's Marcel, the city reference branch, someone reads a letter and scoffs. A letter from the ghost? The answer comes cold. This is Ainbeck's doing. So here's the setup. The Oak Tree mercenaries were the first force sent to clear out the bandits. But it was a trap. Waiting for them were the Emperor's elite mercenaries, and the Oak Tree men, caught flat, were wiped out to the last. Then Baron Ainbeck, the loyal baron, took the crest of the dead noble Bradil and forged a letter with it, pinning the slaughter on ghosts nobody can question. Inside Marcel, the man behind it all is calm. He's already given the guard captain strict orders. Tonight he promises nothing dangerous crosses Marcel's walls. Meanwhile, a priest prays into the night, begging a blessing on every step someone takes. Beside him, a companion asks the obvious. "Praying this late? You're worried about Johan, aren't you?" An old servant suddenly cries out, "Swelga," then voices the fear eating at everyone. His master is brave, but a troll is not something a human can beat in a fair fight. A young woman starts to speak and can't finish. The old man cuts in, telling her not to worry, and asks the real question. Doesn't your master carry two waters holding the secret of the Ithiel River? That lands, and back on the battlefield it clicks. Johan still has the Water of Wrath. He reacts, grips his weapon, and turns straight into the troll. He swings with the water's power, riding his blade, striking as the beast draws its own strength up. Forgot that he has the Water of Wrath, someone notes. Watch watching him stop trading blows for survival and start hunting. The troll surges back, red energy pouring off it as it counterattacks, and the two collide in a brutal trade of blows where neither will yield ground and any slip could be fatal. Then the thing rises to its full monstrous form, power flooding out of it. Johan, soaked and alone, stares it down with the one weapon that might finally end this. Johan stays locked with the troll, dodging the thing's overhead swings and answering with the water of wrath riding his blade. He stopped defending, now he's hunting. The troll roars and rears up, power flooding off it. Johan won't let it turn away, snarling for it to focus on him alone. And that's the whole plan, really. Johan's thinking he just needs to buy time, so Gustav the military officer and the soldiers can run. Even he isn't sure he can win this outright. He drives upward into the towering beast, chaining slash after slash until one devastating cut lands clean. The first real wound he's carved into it. Proof his gamble to hold it here is finally hurting the thing. For a second it works. The troll freezes and Johan lets himself hope. Great, I've sealed its mobility, he thinks, at least for the moment. The moment lasts about a breath. The troll rips free and comes back swinging with everything, a wall of force that Johan barely twists out of. Damn it, I got too close, he spits. The next blow launches him into the air with the troll's huge body chasing right behind. Spent, out of options, Johan admits, I'm done for. Meanwhile, away from the fight, a scout studies the enemy camp through his telescope, counting the campfire lights. Then something makes him stiffen. What is that? Back at the troll, it hits Johan hard. He jolts, and behind the mask, his face is wet with tears, blood streaking down as the blows keep landing on his wrapped, broken body. Meanwhile, at Marcel's gate, a Holy Empire commander lines his men up under the shield banner and asks if they're ready. They march in with torches, laughing low that ugly cuckoo laugh. The commander vows it plainly. No matter what the defenders do, they're getting through that gate, even if someone tries to stop them. An armored soldier starts hacking the door, white-hot sparks flying, until a defender inside throws it open to meet them. One attacker screams it out grinning, "Long live the Holy Empire!" That's when something in Johan breaks loose. Power surges up out of him, and he unleashes a strike that tears clean through the men at the gate. One arc, and it's over. Johan stands over the fallen attackers, sword drawn, chest heaving. The bastard nobody expected to walk away just did. In a dark alley elsewhere, an armored man reports to a hooded figure that the bribe guards have been silenced, tying up the loose end that could expose the plot. Then Baron Enbeck's face turns, red slash marks glowing around his head as the scheme moves forward. In the dark, the cloaked leader running this whole thing praises the man who handled the bribed guards. Traitors who sell for coin have no place in the Empire, he says, and it lands cold coming from the guy who paid the bribe. Then he turns to his soldiers and lays out the plan. They take Marcel tonight. While the guards are stuck defending the wall, his men are to slip in and grab the city's commander. One of his lieutenants hesitates at the order, face tight, uneasy about turning on the city's commander, but the leader doesn't wait for doubts. Elsewhere, the tall figure looms over a seated pair at a table, a cat creature and a gentleman, and offers them their lives. "We will preserve you," he says, then leans in with a warning. "Don't test my patience." Meanwhile, a bearded man jolts in shock and grabs a small figure close as soldiers move in on him. His captor lifts him off his feet and tells him it's done. There's nothing more he can do here. Two figures stand in the aftermath, smoke and fire all around them. The cat creature's clawed hand rests over a document, the city's fate half signed away, and Johan lies wrapped in bloody cloth, unconscious, wrecked from the gate. Back at the wall, a warrior in purple locks swords with a towering dark monster, buying time against the creature as it rears up and unleashes its power in a burst of white. Gustav, the officer holding the line, plants himself in a fighting stance and calls the retreat, telling his men to pull back and regroup. But a soldier refuses. "What are you saying, Gustav? I'm staying too." Gustav ignores it and shouts for them to help Leon up. "Quickly, get the wounded man out." Too late. The monster snatches that soldier up, and he screams Gustav's name as it takes him. Gustav draws his blade and charges to buy the other's time, throwing himself between the monster and the wounded. "Come then, monster!" The creature opens its jaws and pours its power straight at him. And Johan, wrapped in cloth, twitches. Something is stirring in the near-dead body. The monster snarls down at Gustav, red aura blazing, the warrior a small shadow beneath it. Then it drives him down, and he sinks into the water, exhausted and outmatched. Down on the seafloor, the beast lies dead, but Gustav is done too, drifting spent through the dark water. "I'm too tired," he thinks, letting go. And inside Johan, a memory rips through him, every distressed pose of a life that hurt. Life was far too painful, the thought goes, and his heart flares red and bright. He turns toward a glowing ethereal thing, reaching out with tendrils, something offering him a way back from the brink, and his eye snaps wide, the pupil going a strange blue hexagon as the shock of it hits him. His fist clenches, red symbols crawling over it, the power building and building. Then it detonates through him and Johan is hurled up, the awakening tearing loose in a storm of energy. The bastard who nearly died at the gate is coming back with something new. Johan comes back roaring, and the awakening puts words in his mouth. "Then I will slay death itself," he shouts, and drives the new power straight down. The energy swallows him whole, and he screams up into it, no longer the half-drowned bastard from the gate. His eyes burn a hard blue, and he says it again, quiet and sure this time. "I will slay death itself." Then he's back in the rain, trading blows with a masked enemy who nearly finished him. "For my honor and for Laurent," he cries, and swings with everything the awakening gave him. The strike lands clean, and the masked figure staggers, blood in the rain. But the enemy's shock cuts short because the wound just isn't enough to stop what Johan's become. Injured, Johan rises anyway, eyes flaring, and steps fully into the a powered form. The man who was supposed to be dead now stands over the fight instead of under it. Elsewhere, a military camp sits quiet under the moon, and Marky Einbeck is celebrating. He laughs with his hand on his chest, thrilled at the name he's about to bury, Velako and Eon, the branch manager. A hooded man sneers that lowly merchants dared to meddle in politics, so they'll be purified like the defiled. He orders the ritual hanging, then tells the room that Marcel and every trading company on the continent will learn the lesson. He drinks to it, satisfied, sealing the pact to make an example of Marcel and the trading companies. Very well, he says, then leans in cold. Be sure to tell him. But the good mood curdles fast when he realizes the trick. Einbeck, that cunning bastard, he was planning to monopolize all the credit, he spits. The alliance rotting from the inside before the inks even dry. Riders move through the night, and the hooded figure muses from the saddle that he sees where this is going. Indeed I could, he says, gripping the reins, then laughs like a man who just found a shortcut. Now then. Something answers him from the night sky, moon and dark energy pouring down, and even he flinches. Holy, he breathes, and the summoning tears the calm apart. In the ruined future, that summoning drops Johann into a nightmare fight. Scarred warriors brace with a shaky alright, and out of the dark, a massive stone golem rises over one lone knight. And him, he walks toward it. The golem's foot slams down hard enough to shake the field. Two of the scarred warriors hang back, and one asks the other if they should jump in and help the lone knight. But they admit the truth that's kept them frozen. Nothing they've thrown at this thing has left a real mark on it, so they wait and watch Johann instead. The golem's eyes flare, and it swings its glowing weapon straight down at him, all its weight behind one killing blow. Johann doesn't back off. He rips an upward slash across the golem's face and keeps carving into it, fast and merciless. Then he drops the critical strike from above, plants himself over the wrecked golem, and just grunts, humph. He brings the blade down one last time, straight into the golem's core, and the whole thing bursts apart in a spray of stone. The mercenaries who couldn't scratch it just watched him break it open. But the knight isn't done. A troll rears up roaring, and the same two soldiers eye its wound and mutter that it's nothing close to fatal. Johann turns on it, and a watcher gasps, "Human knight?" as the two of them crash together. He answers the troll with a counter that snaps its head back and tears its armor open, then drives an upward strike right into it. He hammers the troll's skull with hit after hit, wearing the creature down through raw force alone. One of the observers can barely believe it. He's taking the troll on with his bare hands. Johann hammers another blow up under its guard, and the collision keeps building until one final impact throws them both apart. Then a dark clawed hand rises with red energy, and he unloads, blast after blast raining down, slash after slash, until he brings the glowing weapon down in one last overhead strike. Johann kicks off the troll and lands clear, eyes lit, still very much in the fight. The thing roars and throws everything it has left, energy tearing up at him in wave after wave. But he's already inside it, trading blows point blank to break the creature down, and he rides a blue energy counter into a finisher that ends the fight. A masked warrior beside him screams the opening out loud, "Sir Johann, do it now." The troll's jaw gapes with one last discharge, but Johann just sets his fists and brings the whole thing down on it. His strike hammers into the ground and detonates. The troll answers with a dense storm of slashes, and for one breath, Johann actually flinches at what's coming. He walks out of it wrecked and gasping, armor half shredded, and he means to end it. With this, he mutters, and one more claw strike lands. The troll doesn't get up. Back on the road after the fight, four riders come pounding through the rain, and a man gets blasted off his feet, screaming, "Leave me be!" He's still babbling in shock. Were those horses planning to eat me? Johann finds Gustav down and broken, and Gustav is far past saving. Gustav tells him not to make that face, then asks the only thing he has left. Will Johann tell his father how bravely he fought? The word air catches in Johann's throat, and he just stands there silent. Then he pulls out the blessing water and holds it up, deciding to give this dying man a clean end. And he can't help thinking, a good deed's worth doing anyway, so he might as well get paid for it too. Quick catch up on where our boy stands. Johann came into this world a powerless bastard with no magic and no safety net, and he's been clawing up one bloody contract at a time. Right now, he's out in a war zone between bandits and the Marcel force, and he's just knelt over a broken, dying man. Johann tips the blessing water to the man's lips and tells him quietly, "It'll ease your pain. Sorry for showing you this pathetic sight." He means it as a mercy, a clean end for a soldier past saving. The soldier sinks down, maroon hair falling over a face gone slack, resigned to it. Around them, the others gather close, cradling the little spheres of water like they don't quite believe what they're holding. But the water doesn't kill. Under a tall tree in the forest, the man Johann just tried to send off is sitting up, breathing, whole. One of them calls Leon, the rescued soldier, their comrade, their brother, and turns to Johann stunned. An armored soldier grabs Johann's hand. "Thank you for easing Leon's suffering," he says. "Had it not been for you, Leon would have suffered until the very end." Johann stands there silent, because he was sure he'd just watched a man die. Then Leon himself speaks up, grinning through the shock. "The pain vanished completely," he says. Someone asks if he's really alright, and Leon answers, remarkably clear-headed actually. A soldier claps Johann on the shoulder and says it plain, "Congratulations on being reborn." The rest crowd in asking what this water even is, and Johann learns the name right along with them. The water of blessing. Now they're beside themselves. "You saved a comrade as dear to me as a brother," one shouts. And they haul Johann into a rough, tearful embrace, cheering like he's family. The loudest of them turns to the whole crowd and roars it out. "Everyone, do you see Sir Johann is now as dear to me as a sworn brother, and a big soldier swears anyone who crosses them will face his wrath." Right as they're bracing against another burst burst of enemy magic holding the line together, Johan cuts through all the brotherhood and honor with the only thing he actually wants. Please, he says, just give me money instead of all this. Meanwhile, word of Johan is already spreading. Somewhere else a man throws a fist up. I heard Sir Johan fought and defeated a troll. Another just gapes back. What? In a misty forest at dusk, people stand over what's left of the beast, still not believing it. Its right arm torn apart, tendon and muscle gone, bones shattered to pieces, every organ inside destroyed, a troll ripped open by a man with no magic of his own. And that's the legend now walking out of these woods with Johan's name on it. The monastery sisters finish listing the damage on the troll, even its jaw ripped clean off. Their verdict is simple. It just died from taking too much, unable to heal fast enough. Johan stands over the corpse as they explain the cleanup. They had dozens of their sisters burn it with holy flames until it was safe. Hearing that, it clicks for him. Ah, so that's how they did it. Then they mention the plan. They'll keep the hide and blood intact and sell the corpse whole. Johan perks right up. Oh, now that's lucrative. In his first life, and the kill lands as more than money. Johan thinks back on that bull-headed monster and what beating strong things earns a man. This, he tells himself, is his first real achievement in this world. But the calm snaps. An armed band closes in around Johan and his hurt companion, and one of them insists what he saw wasn't a monster at all. It was a pet dog. A warrior from the band drops to a knee begging Johan for mercy while another laughs it all off. Yes, that's right, the man chuckles, like the lie is airtight. Johan doesn't buy a word of it. He flatly calls it bullshit. This whole area is a war zone between bandits and the Marcel subjugation force, so nothing here adds up. The kneeling warrior asks the laughing man, her honorable brother, for a private word with the traveler. He waves it off. Sure, go ahead. But once they're alone, the mask drops. The man's face twists as the warrior quietly warns Johan not to trust these people. They're agents of the Holy Empire, revealing this camp is a trap, and he's walked into enemy territory. Johan just smiles at how fast they read him. Your intuition's good, Sir Johan. The warrior admits, I was only trying my luck here. Then comes the real news. They found the command post of Baron Einbeck, the loyal Baron. Johan's head snaps up. What? He looks down, turning the name over. Einbeck. The conspiracy finally has an address. So Johan takes it straight to the man with the soldiers. Listen, sir, he says, I have a request. Hit Einbeck before he even knows we're coming. One swift strike with your mobile forces. End the whole subjugation in one stroke, he tells them. And the moment they're ready, they move to launch the surprise assault that could break the conspiracy for good. The strike lands hard. Einbeck's fortifications blow apart and cave in as Gustav's forces crash into the defenders inside. Through the chaos, the order rings out, find Einbeck. But something's wrong. A soldier stares in disbelief and shouts the question that changes the whole fight. How did those things survive? One of Einbeck's men gives up on the spot. Ah, forget it, he mutters, I'll run for now, and bolts. When the smoke clears, Johan and Joseph, the same friend he saved from the wolves back at the start, stand triumphant atop one of the huge fallen creatures. The beast finally brought down amid fire and wreckage all around them. A cleric in armor comes down from the tall purple-draped keep and walks straight to him, smiling. She tells Johan there's a gift waiting inside. The man he asked about, she says, is crumpled up in there. Johan just thanks her and heads in, then stops, looking down at the burning settlement below. Inside the courtyard, wounded soldiers stand over a beaten figure on the ground, but this man isn't finished. He rises with a red glow around him, face twisting into pure rage, refusing to stay down and forcing the fight to keep going even after being beaten. The camp scrambles anyway. A soldier yells they're still organizing supplies while others break and shout retreat, retreat. White-haired clerics bow to Johan, telling him it was an honor to serve. He raises a hand toward a distant figure, waving a white flag. A red-haired man strains with both hands to hold something back, grunting from the effort, then stands with his back to us against a strange blue light, the last stand before whatever comes next. To bridge it, we drop back several months before all this. A schemer stares at a poison bottle marked with a skull and second guesses himself. I clearly smeared the venom, Nessos' tear, on that cup, he mutters. Should I have just poured the whole bottle down his throat? Back in the present, a man in a doorway jolts in shock. Then he's standing with a woman holding his hand in a quiet interior room. Gessen, the drunkard lord of the family, greets someone warmly. Have you been well, he says. But another voice cuts in. Cold and sharp, Lord Gessen. Gessen bolts forward in a sudden rush, but the movement comes to nothing. An attendant reaches him and he ends up standing at the servant's side instead. His charge halted before it goes anywhere. Meanwhile, Robert, one of the desperate retainers, and a younger figure pour over a scroll and a vessel. Robert grips the parchment and tears into it, determined. A messenger arrives with a royal summons. Baron Gessen, he announces. His Majesty the Emperor requires your assistance once more. Gessen explodes. Stop spouting nonsense, he snaps. While I've been rotting in this remote northern hole, the Emperor needs me now? You want me to believe that? Then comes the real ask. Place a seal on a blank document. By sealing an empty page, House Eitz's mark becomes a blank check of loyalty to whoever fills it in later, binding him to orders he hasn't even seen. Gessen turns on Einbeck, the northern baron he clearly despises, and sneers, are you still boasting about that wretched house name? Then he stamps House Eitz's seal down onto that blank page anyway. But he does it with a warning. Pocket my achievements one more time, he growls, and I'll rip out your loyalty. The word tastes like poison in his mouth. Loyalty, loyalty, forced onto him. The messenger only smiles and says that seal will serve his majesty's greater will. The red emblem glows shut, and Gessen has just signed a blank weapon into someone else's hand. Night falls, church bells ringing, and a scarred man turns a green wax letter over in his hands. This, he realizes, is a letter plotting rebellion. His eyes burn red, and his bound fists clench against the rope. He lays it out cold. The northern houses fought for the emperor, he says, and they were framed with treason to bury them. His captor grins and admires the venom. Your words have bite, he laughs. The scarred man just spits back that he was only admiring such repugnant cunning. The captor keeps circling, marveling that the rival house could produce a man like this. He turns away with the letter, then stops cold as something tightens in his face. The scarred man rounds on him, furious that this captor dares lecture him about honor after taking him prisoner. He stands there in the dark, refusing to be broken by the interrogation. Then the memory floods back, the vow that started all of it. In golden armor, he swore to become the emperor's sword, that the emperor's honor weighs heavier than every life on the continent, that this was his honor too, and the whole thing was filthy deception and betrayal. He screams it through tears, muscles straining as some unseen grip chokes the breath out of him. A masked figure looms in the shadows, red eyes glowing. The one who did this. Karamaf, the empire representative, ruined everything. The scarred man howls, fist shaking with rage he can't spend. Then Johan comes face to face with that same red-haired scarred man in a stone chamber underground, cornering the one who caused all this. The man's face fills close, breathing hard, dragging out one broken word as he finally answers for it. But the reckoning has to wait, because a rider gallops up and shouts, "Sir Johan, there's a problem." Ahead of them, the ground has just torn open. A massive pit yawns in the earth, light spilling up out of it, and the soldiers scatter back shouting in alarm. Johan just narrows his eyes at the chasm, thinking, while somewhere in the dark a scream rips loose. Meanwhile, the scarred red-haired man is still laughing like a broken thing, howling at Johan across the underground chamber. Through it, he keeps spitting the same accusation. Why did nobody light up this twisted fate? Why was he left to rot with it? Up above, a soldier grabs Johan and begs him not to push into the castle. It's too dangerous, they should pull back. But Johan knows the real problem inside. Brattle is the man who captured Magistrate Villaco. Back in the chamber, the scarred man lays out exactly what he'll do to Johan. He'll cut his tendons and drag him across the whole empire as living proof that Karamaf is worthless. Once Johan's used up the gallows, and smiling, he saves the worst for last. In Johan's final moment, the man wants him to know one thing. It was he who killed Johan's father. He drops it like a killing blow. Sure, it will break our boy. But Johan doesn't crumble. The old man grins through his wounds while Johan's face goes cold and hard. And then he strikes, killing the man who came to gloat in one violent exchange. Then an armored soldier bursts out of the castle, staring at the aftermath, asking what on earth just happened in there. That question is the bridge, because whatever Johan did inside is only one front of a much bigger war for Marcel. The city reference. The night before the deployment, Johan lays out the danger. Einbeck knows Marcel's defenses inside and out, which means his men could slip into the heart of the city whenever they want. So Johan sets a trap and waits. Enemy soldiers infiltrate exactly like he predicted, and their leader draws his sword, cocky, laughing that the Oak Tree mercenaries are all talk, and he caught them with their guard down. Then it flips on him. Johan's side turns the ambush around, so the boastful leader is the one caught, shock and pain hitting his face as the trap he mocked closes on him. Turns out he was the one all talk. They pin him down raging, order him to accept his fate, and beat him bloody until he's pleading. "Let me go," he begs, while the guards only demand one answer. Where's Bradil? The last enemy push slams the city walls, energy tearing into buildings, but Marcel holds. Then the bells ring out and someone shouts for the victory horns, and the city sings the whole story back. Treacherous mercenaries, bandit hordes, and trolls all came to shatter Marcel's walls, and every one of them was thrown back. So Johan rides through Marcel on a white horse under falling petals and roaring cheers, hailed as the man who seizes victory with his fists. The bastard nobody wanted is now the hero this city won't stop naming. Out in the streets, the bards and soldiers can't stop dancing, fists raised, drums going, the whole city one big party, and they're all singing about one man. "We shall sing of his deeds," the herald calls out over the crowd. The herald hypes him up like a legend. His name strikes like iron, his courage burns like flame. Then he lands the name everybody's screaming, Johan Eitz, the man who seizes victory with his fists. And there's Johan up on his horse, actually smiling as the whole city looks up at him worshipping. The bastard nobody wanted, cheered like a saint. The speaker reminds the crowd what Marcel used to be, a city where corpses just lay in the streets. Now thanks to Johan, that's over. The children of Marcel won't die at the hands of bandits anymore, he says, and the crowd eats it up. Meanwhile, but someone in the crowd is not celebrating. She's rushing off with her eyes shut tight. "You're in a hurry," a voice notes. "We'll get back to her." Because right now, Johan is somewhere much better, in a private room sipping his cup while somebody reads out the payday. 100 bronze coins, they announce. That's just the start. Next is the monster spoil sale proceeds, they add, and the number makes the whole room lose it. Somebody's jaw hits the floor, another guy tries to add it all up in his head. While all of it combined, Johan's cut is stacking absurdly high. One of his men just about cries about it. My brother is the... And Johann grabs him in a hug laughing, my friend. Then he raises his glass and leads the toast. Now everyone, raise your glasses. And then the storytelling starts, half of it total nonsense. One drunk soldier swears the troll was about to crush him with an arm thick as a log. Of course I wasn't afraid, he insists, to exactly nobody's belief. He builds it up huge. Just as he was ready for an honorable death, Johann showed up and didn't just kill the troll, he tore it apart. Swamp soaked with blood, Johann standing on the corpse, dropping some cool line. The guy says milking every second of it. Someone clutches their shirt, still shook, and one of the fighters keeps asking, is it really dead? He's definitely dead, trust me, the soldier promises. And a table erupts. Okay. One woman sits quiet, hesitating. Then Johann leans in about the troll. Bare hands, he asks, half checking his own legend. Off to the side, a woman grabs an old man's arm as he snarls, damn you. He tells them about a vision back when he first saw Johann reflected in the water. He says the Ephile River spoke to him. The prophecy was clear, he says. Johann Eitz would never settle in Marcel, and the river's prophecy is never wrong. Yet there stands Johann against the sunset, cape blowing, having bent that fate with his own two hands. He's changed it with his own strength, the old man breathes, like even the river got outmuscled. Back inside, someone tells Johann the crew is throwing a celebration in his honor, and it catches him completely off guard. What? How? He blurts. Then his face shifts into a slow dawning realization. Turns out Katana, the little cat creature, is teasing him to dance. Cats are flexible, right? She needles. Johann flat out dodges it. No, I'm not much of a dancer. The whole crew cracks up and piles into hugs, and the tavern manager tells the branch to take good care of Sir Johann, everyone chiming in about how much they respect him. And Katana looks up at him with a real smile. Thank you for helping me, Sir Johann. The bastard nobody wanted now has money, a name, and people who'd toast to him. So here's where our boy stands. Johann started as a bastard nobody would waste a coffin on, and now he's the man who tore a troll apart with his bare hands. Money, a name, people who toast him, and right now he's cornered into dancing, so he cuts a deal with the little cat creature instead. Just follow my steps for one song, he tells Katana, then you can slip away. A woman calls him Sir Johann, and he's stuck, so he grabs a lute and plays for the whole noble crowd, buying the quiet exit he wanted. Later, alone in bed, something strange starts happening to him. Runes flicker across his body, and when it settles, Johann's frame has visibly filled out. He's stronger than he was. He finds the source, a small vial of red liquid marked Water of Blessing. Whatever this stuff is, it's quietly rebuilding him. That new strength gets tested fast. Johann pushes through a dark stone doorway, something huge and winged waiting in the black, and he goes straight at it. He carves the thing apart, killing the winged beast, but the fight doesn't end there because everything after that turns to fire. Flames erupt, slash marks rain down, and the destruction spills out into a town. But this fire isn't his. A crowd stands frozen in the street as embers fall around them, and the city itself has a name. Marcel is burning, and the people in it have no idea why. Back in the present, Marcel stands in the ruined street, staring at the destruction. What on earth is this, he breathes, because none of this makes sense to him. Then Johann spots the man behind it. A masked figure steps out, and he recognizes him. Einbeck, the Baron who once swore loyalty. Einbeck? Why is he there? And it gets worse. Above them, people hang caged in the air, and there's the sharp reek of oil in the wind. Einbeck didn't come to fight, he came to burn everyone he could reach. Marcel takes it in, still processing the trap closing around them, while a noble up top calls out that the gathered crowds below are exactly the targets Einbeck means to burn, and more victims are still arriving. An official steps into a grand archway to speak, red slashes tearing through the dark behind him. His face twists as he says it out loud. It has been revealed, and the crowd panics, screaming that the attackers are still here. Then the real horror lights up. An armed attacker reveals himself among the crowd, wrapped in a glowing aura with a burning sword raised over the platform, threatening to set the whole gathering ablaze. Someone shrieks and grips his head, agony ripping out of him as the ropes binding the caged people catch fire. Claws of red and white slash through, and the whole structure goes up in a roaring inferno. The flames swallow the cage whole, a man screaming inside as the fire climbs higher. Einbeck is burning Marcel's people alive, right in front of the city Johann meant to settle down in. The man in the cage screams as the fire swallows him whole, and around him, the people of Marcel just cower, shielding each other from flames they can't escape. But cut inside Einbeck's memory, and he cradles a small angel figurine, smiling like a saint over the woman with reddish-brown hair standing with a red-haired child. The family he lost that drives him to burn now. He murmurs, my little angel, aching that if only he could, just once, hold them again. Then silhouettes rise out of the raging inferno, and a voice cuts through the smoke with a warning. For any traitor in this place, remember, and the speaker names himself. Marcel's magistrate, Vilico, will always be watching. So while the city still burns, a messenger finds Johann and tells him the magistrate wants to meet him privately. Johann just stares. He wants to meet me right now in the middle of all this. He goes anyway. An attendant greets him at a grand stone hall, and inside Vilico sits calm behind his desk while the battle for Marcel is still fresh. Vilico waves him over, all friendly. Mind if we sit and talk a few things over? Years earlier, Vilico pours him a drink, and Johann eyes that cup hard. Unlike last time, he thinks remembering exactly how alcohol went for him before. He doesn't have good memories with it, but refusing a lord is bad manners, so he takes the cup and figures he'll just hold it for now. The old magistrate leans in, casual as anything, and asks asks how life in Marcel has been. Johan blinks. What? What do you mean by that? He wasn't ready for small talk, and he can feel a trap somewhere in it. Because Velako already knows. He praises Johan straight out, saying his strategy and martial skill are unmatched, and the words land over flashes of the very fights Johan tried to keep quiet. So much for hiding his strength until it was safe. Velako fixes Johan with a cold blank stare, then declares that from now on he will no longer stay uninvolved. Whatever quiet Johan hoped for is over, because the magistrate has decided to act on a man this dangerous. And just like that, Johan's whole plan to settle down quietly in Marcel is dead. Velako tells him a great war is coming, only a matter of time, and he's pulling Johan into it. So orders start flying. 2 days provisions, transport it carefully, load all the weapons and luggage. Johan finds himself buying armor by the piece, pauldrons, and vambraces at 3.5 gold each, kitting out for a war he never asked to fight. A servant tells Johan the preparations are done, and Johan just nods, good work. Then the whole group mounts up and rides out of town. And Johan, cloaked and armored on the road, keeps chewing on how he got here, because this wasn't his idea, it was Velako's. Rewind to Velako, and somebody demands to know where he's suddenly marching all these troops. A move made without explanation that has his own people alarmed. Velako just closes his eyes and says nothing, refusing to reveal his purpose. The man is stunned. What? He can't believe Marcel itself is throwing its weight behind this. But why, he asks? Velako says he understood something to his core when he was young, staring at all the poor and starving. He grips an object, eyes hard with resolve. A great war is coming, Velako says, only a matter of time. And running from the battlefield won't save you. The only real question is how you survive it. So he names the destination, and that's that. Johan's cozy little plan to settle in Marcel is officially dead, killed by Velako. His new heading, Zarpin County, the Count's Castle. Because word's gotten out about the guy who hunted trolls in Marcel. On the road now, Johan gnaws at the ration bread and thinks it's hard as a stone. Honestly, he figures you could club a man with this. The caravan rolls on, cart creaking down the road. Johan sits there wondering if he can really pull this off. No choice, he decides. Push forward. He stops to hire muscle, and in the hall someone asks if Sir Johan is the one looking for mercenaries. Then the boss tells his crew to show some respect. This is your new employer. The mercenaries stare and mutter, who's this guy? They keep their aggressive stances up. Even with Johan standing right there, one man notes they still look plenty scary. One steps up, Katana, Hyena Beastman, squad leader. Another follows, Shuka the Badger Beastman, also a squad leader. Johan introduces himself back, Johan of House Yates, the one hiring them, and says he's looking forward to it. The two squad leaders light right up, but one Beastman pauses, confused. Hold on, why would a knight who kills trolls want to hire us? Johan just tells him not to read too much into it, and that answer's enough to settle the crew. Back on the road, there's a checkpoint ahead, and a heavy stink of blood. Something's off, so Johan orders everyone except Godin's guards to stay sharp. Johan seals the deal with the Beastman crew, telling them straight, let's get along. The contract's done, Katana mercenaries hired. Then a robed woman finds him. She heard he's leaving Marcel tomorrow. Johan laughs it off, says it just worked out that way. She says it's a shame they were just getting close. She asks him to bend down a moment, and Johan leans in, leaving his neck exposed as she reaches for it. A gesture that could be affection or a strike he's blindly trusting. She fastens the glowing gold Troll Slayer emblem on him, marking him as one who has slain a troll. Johan just breathes out, oh. She asks where he's headed. He admits he was just going to figure that out after leaving, so she hands him a document instead. Back in the present, back with his people, Godin's son spots the paper and asks what it is. Then his eyes go wide as he reads. It's about Count Zarpin, a noble who did big work in past monster hunts. Johan asks what a knighting ceremony even is. It's where a noble officially recognizes you as a knight, and Zarpin is holding one. And Johan lights up. This time he gets both money and a knight's title. For a man who trusts only gold and himself, that's 2 birds he's been hunting his whole reincarnated life. But the cat-eared scout smells trouble first. A checkpoint ahead and a thick stink of blood. Johan feels it too. Something's wrong, so he orders everyone but Godin's guards to stay sharp. At the checkpoint, the men waiting have already decided how this goes. One mutters that night or not, they all die the same, once a sword goes through them. They shout for the group to stop and demand an inspection. Identify yourself. Johan answers flat, Johan of House Yates, and turns it back on them. What are you doing here? They act surprised he's a knight, claim it's just a routine inspection, but Johan's eyes narrow. Nothing about a blood-soaked checkpoint reads as routine. The soldiers claim they've got orders to control this area. Then flip to the real ask, since you're a knight, we'll let you pass for a little gift. Johan cuts right through it. Before you talk about gifts, tell me who you even are to run an inspection. They've got nothing, so their commander just drops it, no reason to cooperate. What an irritating bastard. From back on his horse, he yells at Johan to quit showing off and just hand over money. Johan's answer is short and filthy, go fuck yourself. So the commander roars and charges, and the whole checkpoint crew piles in with him. Johan draws his sword and meets them head on. The shakedown now turned into an open fight. He has to survive. Johan blocks the commander's axe and holds the line, but there are too many bodies swarming him at once. He grunts through the strain, carving into soldier after soldier, and his mind flashes back to running from the wolves of Akaton, hiding in a merchant caravan just to survive. 30 minutes later, the whole checkpoint is dead in the mud. A subordinate reports it clean, and Johan just says good work. He spots a stolen sword on one of the corpses, figures it was never really theirs, and pockets it anyway. Does not matter, I can have it now. But the blood stench that spooked them wasn't from this fight at all. The real source is inside a warehouse, a whole row of of bodies laid out. Someone stumbles out alive, and Johan grabs him. Identify yourself. What were you doing here? The man shaking, we're deserters, sir. He explains they were fighting at Zarpin Castle when their side started losing. And that lands like a punch, because Zarpin is exactly where Johan's knighting ceremony is supposed to happen. Johan can't believe it. There was an attack on Zarpin Castle. His whole road to money and a title just turned into a war zone. And the only question left is who Count Zarpin is even at war with. The survivor spits it out plain. He and his men are deserters from the rival house. That's who's fighting Count Zarpin. He says the rival house surrounded Zarpin Castle with a huge army. Their own side was crumbling, morale wrecked by some idiot commander, so the men just bolted. Johan presses him, how big is Abner's force? But the man just coughs up blood, crying, begging God to forgive him, and dies before he can answer. Gudin, the freed slave-turned-merchant riding with him, asks the real question. To reach Count Zarpin and that knighting ceremony, they'd have to punch straight through a war zone. Johan can't argue. Gudin's right. Abner's armored soldiers stand in the rain, and Johan mutters the bitter truth. No matter where he goes, it's always war. When enemy soldiers come near, Johan tells Katana, the divine beast at his side, to let them pass. From above, he watches a caravan wind through the canyon at night. Years earlier, he figures they're headed one of two ways, Zarpin or Abner, same as when he traveled with the Eldon's trading company before. So he decides to follow and find out. Katana grins with those big fangs, ready to move. Then the caravan's guard beast, a golden-eyed owl, snaps awake and cries for everyone to halt. Having sensed Johan's group closing in, a cloaked figure steps out in front of the marching soldiers to block their path. Johan rides up and names himself Johan of House Yaitz and asks where they're headed. A torch swings over a cowering captive as he warns them, if they're bandit knights, get lost now. That earns him a sneer, hairless bastard, and a blade drawn on him. One of the caravan men grins with a club. Do you want to die? And the whole pack rushes in swinging. They hammer down on Johan again and again, blades chopping into the rain, and out of the impact, he steps clear untouched. Because a real lord is watching from the high ground, and he loses it. Lord Doris screams at his own men, you dim-witted bastards, before they can carve up a noble knight. Johan kneels worn out, his amulet cracked apart. Then Doris and every soldier drop to their knees, begging forgiveness for not recognizing who he was. From murder to groveling in about 10 seconds. After nearly getting Johan killed, Lord Doris scrambles to make it right. He offers up a banquet as an apology for his men, and his soldiers stand guard outside the tent while the wine gets poured. Doris frets that his little feast is too plain for a knight of Johan's supposed standing. Johan just settles in, watching everything, planning to loosen these men up before he asks where they're really headed. When the name Gamson, the cavalry escort, comes up, Johan clocks it cold. Gamson was the man who stole his sword and horse and then lost his head for it. But Johan keeps his face easy, laughs, plays the honored guest, and asks Can to bring him closer to Doris for a more intimate chat. The drinks keep flowing, toasts all around, and Johan raises his own cup, purring that he'll repay hospitality with hospitality. He pours a goblet of red and offers it over, all smiles. Then Doris cracks, going pale as he starts to confess. The truth is, revealing that Gamson wasn't just a man they knew, but the name of a tattoo, a brand that marks who these people really serve, exposing them as agents of something bigger than a robbery. A man screams and gets thrown back, shouting for the guards. Women shriek across the tent. The polite little banquet detonates into chaos in one breath. Johan lunges into it, grabbing the attacker by the middle and slamming him down, muscles straining to pin him while Doris storms and bellowing. What's going on here? Doris's own bodyguard, the 2nd Division commander, winds back a steel gauntlet to smash the pinned attacker and end the threat for good. Beneath Johan, the man's eyes blow wide. How on earth? Because none of them can believe a knight moved fast enough to catch him. Cut away from the bloodshed to Abner's war council, all candlelight and quiet greed. One lord grins, looks like there's profit to be made. Another waves him down, don't be hasty, hear me out first, and points to the rival house's banner they're all backing. When a merchant admits he's behind on the news, they sneer at him. How do you even make a living this slow? Then they lay it out flat. The rival house is at war with House Zarpin right now, and that's the fire Johan just walked straight into. A red-haired woman drops the key detail. Boson Castle in Zarpin is under siege right now, which means the war Johan just stepped into is already turning bloody, and one side is losing ground. Around Abner's war table, the lords lay it out. The Count's castle in Zarpin is already under siege, so House Zarpin is bleeding money and won't be able to pay its debts. One lord panics. Doris, we could lose our heads over this. But Doris only smiles and steers the talk towards Zarpin's family mess. Word is the Countess has a sharp daughter, Lady Ulrike, cunning and strong-willed, the natural next house head. But the Countess plays favorites with her useless youngest Stefan, and the two can't stand each other. So the scheme clicks into place. Why hand command to the incompetent Stefan when she has a capable daughter? Because they plan to funnel supplies to Stefan and bill the Countess for every coin. The lords cheer as if the gold's already spilling into their laps, and Doris barks at everyone to get ready at once. Then a barrage of conjured swords rains down on the camp, cutting through the escort as soldiers guide a carriage through. The portly man clicks his tongue in irritation. Then his face freezes as he realizes they're under attack. His eyes go wide, because riding in through the dark is a face he knows. The soldiers below him breathe it out. The troll slayer of Marcel, the city reference. So the rumor was true, Zarpin actually invited him. And instead of fear, one Abner man grins, thinking, if I capture a future enemy noble right now, I come out ahead. Johan gets dragged into it fast. Me? This is ridiculous, he protests, playing the confused merchant while soldiers close in around him. There's been a misunderstanding, he insists, but nobody's buying it. Then Philip the lending brother and his men arrive, and now Johan's cover is on the line with witnesses to whether he's dragged off or set free. And the standoff snaps. The portly lord ends up on his knees with a hooded figure looming over him, and Johan reads the room, so it was Abner's side after all. A man shrieks in raw terror as violence erupts. Doris, on his knees now, gets told flat out he broke hospitality and insulted the wrong people, and the hooded one goes to work with a pair of curved knives, cackling while his victim writhes, executing the captured enemy. Turns out Johan's crew flipped the ambush into a slaughter, seizing the upper hand. Johan just sits back and smokes, weighing it out. Whatever I command now goes. His man turns to him rattled. Johan, now what do we do? Because even reaching Zarpin Castle is a problem. Even slipping in disguised as merchants won't get them a meeting with Count Zarpin. Johan hears all of it, and his face settles into that quiet scheming look, already 3 moves ahead. Johan makes his call, and his man nearly chokes on it. What are you planning to do, Johan? Johan tells him plainly. They're walking the captives straight into the enemy's main camp. 3 days later, the crew rolls up on the front lines, having gambled everything on marching the captives straight into enemy territory. We finally arrived. One of them breathes, half nervous, half sick, staring up at the rose banners of the rival house. They take in the full spread of it. The rival house's military base, tents and men as far as the eye goes, and the man beside Johan just gapes. This is where they've chosen to gamble. Inside, they meet the man running this army, Commander Stefan Abner. His chief of staff lays out the disaster plainly. Morale is on the floor, and pay and supplies are a month late. Stefan slams the armrest in fury at the news, but the outburst fixes nothing, and his chief of staff quietly sees that the commander is only driving morale lower. And here's why they're this desperate. Bandits hit Abner's supply lines to pillage them, torching a whole settlement to ash. Worse, the starving soldiers who saw no hope deserted in droves and turned bandit themselves. That collapse is the crack Johan means to slip through. As luck has it, one of those deserter bands ran straight into Johan's crew, and now they're the beaten men lying in the dirt. That's the leverage Johan carries into camp. Prisoners of Abner's own runaways. But the woman running the negotiation waves it all off, smiling, bored by the whole thing. Tell them to get the money from my mother, she scoffs, like gold is beneath her. Then Johan's name lands wrong. Yites, she echoes, and reaches for the sealed document he's brought, unfolding it and reading. And whatever it says changes everything, because her whole dismissive tone drops in an instant. Doris, the noble Johan already gutted the plan out of, tries to flip it on him. This man broke hospitality. He came to kidnap us. The bearded lord roars along with the accusation. The woman warns Stefan flat out, never grant his request, and Johan cuts through all of it with the only offer that moves this camp. Forget the accusations, just buy the captives from me for a reasonable amount of gold. Johan flat out refuses to hand himself over, and the woman running this camp demands proof the merchant even attacked him. Behind her, an old man mutters a name as a tall figure steps up. Doris, the noble Johan already pried the whole plan out of. Johan holds his ground. It happened exactly as he said. The merchant swung first. That only stings her more, and she orders the guards to seize the old man, turning the accusation back on his side and saying anyone can read the guilt on his face. She rounds on Johan next, telling him nobody's ever even heard of a house like his. War's urgent, she decides, so she'll just take the supplies and the merchant now and deal with his lies later. Then something in the sealed document she's still holding hits her, and her whole face drops. She grabs a sword and comes at Johan, screaming that he's a scoundrel, that he dares to glare at her. Johan doesn't flinch, he just watches her draw first, because she striking first makes her side the aggressor, and that gives him the legal ground to turn this attack back on them. He turns to Stefan, the young commander of this whole army, and lays the trap shut. Your side drew steel first, so you'll have to take responsibility for it. Stefan freezes, and Johan strikes, dropping the bald man cold in front of everyone. In his head, it's simple. He knew. Just like that, easily a justification was created. Steel comes out around the room as Johan's strike turns the standoff into open violence, and a servant curls over a small child to shield her from the bloodshed. The whole confrontation has flipped to Johan's terms. Back in the present, now Johan stands cloaked and calm, surrounded by Abner's men, and one of them can't wrap his head around it. Why is he so confident when he's just a prisoner? That confidence pays off when he's brought into a torchlit hall to meet the man who actually matters here. An old lord lights up. I can finally meet him, Count. Then the Count grabs Stefan by the head and forces him down, humiliating his own side. Considering the ties between their families, he says, and it doesn't spare Stefan a thing. He spells it out plain. Stefan was captured by that Yites over there, so ownership of the prisoner belongs to Johan now. Stefan reels in shock while Johan just holds his scroll, expression flat. Robert erupts in disbelief at how fast it all turned, then swallows it and bows to the Count, and an attendant gently herds the furious Stefan down the corridor straight toward Johan. So Johan finally stands before the man who runs this place, bows clean, and gives the formal line. It's an honor to meet you, Count Zarpin. Then inside his head, he mutters the thing he's been waiting on all along. Is it finally my turn? He looks out over the fortress with Joseph beside him, taking in the thick walls and how calm it all feels for a place sitting in the middle of a war. The Zarpin knights stand in tight formation, and Johan clocks their armor right away. An old lord in a white fur cloak, this is Count Zarpin himself, steps up talking about a troll he faced back when he was young, because that armor the knights wear is definitely made from troll hide, and the Count knows exactly what it takes to earn hide like that. Then his face goes hard, mid-sentence, cut off. Whatever goodwill was in the air is gone, and Johan feels the mood shift as his easy expression drops. What? On the Count's cue, the Zarpan Knights draw as one, and Johan's still standing right in front of them. The old man's face settles into something cold and thoughtful, and the Knights charge. But the charge isn't aimed at Johan. The Count raises his own hand, blood tearing loose from his palm, and slams his own knight's back. This is his test, and Johan didn't flinch, so the old man wears a satisfied grin while his men reel from the blow. Now the Count lays out why he's impressed, and it's not the standing still. Johan captured the enemy's merchant caravan and cut their supplies dead. Then he grabbed the enemy commander right off the middle of the battlefield. The old man grabs Johan's cloak, not to threaten, to thank him. Just by showing up here, you brought this whole war to a close. And Johan lets out the smallest breath of relief inside. Good, he doesn't see me as a problem. He keeps his face calm and waits for the fallout he expected, then wonders why there's no reaction at all, his hand still tense at his side. Because the Count only claps him on the shoulder and thanks him again, warm and done. And Johan reads him quick, fiery guy, but a decent one. Alright, let's do this. But even standing here, honored as the Troll Slayer Knight, Johan already knows the ground under him is thin. The Empire's hunting him, and he hasn't even been knighted yet, so he's collecting enemies before he's collected a single official title. Somewhere else in the main castle of Abner County, the fallout lands on the losing side. Broken armor and blood on the stones, and Countess Abner hears that her son Stefan got captured right inside his own Abner base. She demands the name. Who did it? And her people can only tell her it was a knight from a house nobody's ever heard of. A man called Johan Yates. That name, the powerless bastard Johan, now hangs over an entire county's fury as her roar fills the whole castle. He's climbing, and every rung he grabs puts a